Battle for Dream Island is a show where 20 objects compete in challenges while getting voted off one by one through viewer voting until there's one character left who wins the prize. But how do we go from just 20 characters in 2010 to this? Over 100 characters, over 5 seasons, and a whole lot of lore spanning all that in 2026. Well, in this video, I'm going to be going over the entire lore of Battle for Dream Island timeline-wise, starting with the algebraliens in 2009 to 2026 in TPOT 22 present day. Stay tuned to the end to see how the board goes from this to then this by the very end of the video. If you guys like BFDI, then please consider subscribing. I make BFDI commentary videos, BFDI reaction videos, plush and merch unboxing videos. I even make my own object shows, both animated and also with plushies. I make fun BFDI videos like this and just about anything BFDI. So if you are a BFDI fan, please consider subscribing to the Dean Diaz channel and becoming one of my contestants. Now guys, it is time to grab some fries as we go over the entire BFDI lore. Enjoy the video. So, our story is going to commence in 2009. And we're not starting in Earth, but rather another planet. A planet inhabited by living numbers. Living on this planet are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 0, X, 14, and 15. All these guys are called algebraliens. Hence why we're just gonna call their planet the algebralien planet. At the moment, these guys don't really do much. They sit around, have fun, play games, all in the equation playground. Except for 15. 15 kind of sticks to himself, away from the group, in their cabin. But unfortunately for him, he's gonna have some company. Because 14 here, well, they like to eat people.
Now I can go back to eating people's skin.
Oh yeah, I forgot he did that. Classic 14.
And they chase 0 all the way to 15's cabin. Luckily for 0 though, 15's pretty tough and locks up 14 in a cage. Which leaves us with numbers 1 through 10 plus X for his best bud in the equation playground. Mostly everyone here has a best bud. 5 has 3, 8 has 2, of course 4 has X, but there is one person who is all alone. And that one is 1. She doesn't really have a friend in the equation playground, but she really wants to connect with people. But luckily for her, a big rock shoots down from space onto their planet. And this rock is Yoyolite. Yoyolite is an extremely powerful rock, and when one touches it, she is able to get some power. This power can do a multitude of stuff, from teleporting to creating stuff out of nowhere to flying up in the sky. The point is, she's got herself some pretty powerful stuff, and she thinks that this will be the best way to get a friend. So, 1 decides to show it to 3 in hopes that 3 will become her best bud. But unfortunately for her, while she is still sleeping, 3 shows all the other algebraliens the Yoyolite. And now this thing that 1 thought was something that would be shared just between her and 3 is now no longer just theirs. So 1 is full of anger. How dare 3 show everyone else the thing that she found, the thing that was supposed to be shared between them to everybody. And this angers 1 so much that she uses this newfound power to kill 3. 3 is completely shattered, broken apart, and is now dead. Now 1 didn't mean to do this. She tries to correct her mistake, and with this newfound power, she is able to bring 3 back from the dead, but not to her normal self. 3 is now a glitchy abomination. She's disfigured and not her normal self. Now 4, worried that 1 might do the same thing to their lover, friend, X, decides to do something about it. So while X, 2, and 3 stay behind on the algebralian planet, 4 leads the charge along with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 to trap 1 somewhere where she won't be able to hurt anyone else. They use their power to grab hold of 1 and trap her inside of the moon. So now 1, unfortunately, is now stuck in the moon alone. 3 does not feel too good after being disfigured. All she wants to do is hide. So 4 uses his power to create a pocket dimension inside of him for 3. And that is where 3 is going to reside. Worried that 1 might possibly break free one day, all the numbers decide to leave the algebralian planet. Except for these guys. These guys are not really too important. And 6, who decides to stay behind. So now, all of these guys are just somewhere in space. And these 4 stay behind on the algebralian planet. Now this is where we can jump to BFDI! And now we're in 2010, no longer on the algebralian planet, but on Earth, which is where we'll be for the rest of the video. But unlike the Earth in real life, this Earth is inhabited by inanimate objects. In the first episode, we get introduced to Blocky, Bubble, Coiny, Eraser, Firey, Flower, Golf Ball, Ice Cube, Leafy, Match, Needle, Pen, Pencil, Pin, Rocky, Snowball, Spongy, Teardrop, Tennis Ball, and Woody. Just like the algebraliens, all these guys just hang out in their home. They're not really doing much. And they live in the plains. Match and Pencil are best friends. Blocky, Eraser, and Pen are the bros. Firey and Coiny hate each other. And Flower's just straight up mean to everyone. Someone like Golf Ball, who could be seen as bossy, is why people like Eraser would do anything to get away from her. Or Flower, or Woody, or Spongy. And well, he's in luck, because out of the sky falls the speaker box known as Announcer, who offers Dream Island as the prize for whoever one of these 20 objects wins the competition he is hosting. Dream Island is a square mile of paradise with 5-star hotels, a casino, 6 restaurants, robot servants, and the winner even gets to decide who comes in and who doesn't. The way this game will be played is that the 20 contestants will be split up into 2 teams. Slowly but surely, the characters get eliminated one by one, which will leave us with the winner, who will win Dream Island. Leafy and Pin win the first challenge, which is to stay on a balance beam for the longest, so they get to pick the teams. Leafy picks Ice Cube after she complains about not being let into Match, Pencil, and Bubble's alliance. Pin picks Pencil. Leafy chooses Teardrop. Pencil tells Pin to choose Bubble. Leafy chooses Needle. Alliance chooses Match. Needle wants Snowball on her team. Pin's team chooses Pen, while Snowball is the reason why Coiny is on Leafy's team. Match wants Firey. Leafy wants TB. Eraser's next on this team, and of course, TB cannot live without GB by his side. Pen and Eraser choose Blocky, their friend! And with a surprising turn of events, TB suggests picking Flower onto their team. That way, she's less of a threat since she is such a menace. Blocky chooses Spongy, just to annoy Match. Leafy picks Rocky, which leaves Woody on Pin's team. Pin's team is named the Squishy Cherries, while Leafy's is the Squashy Grapes. The first challenge is to cross the Gaty Canal, and the Squishy Cherries win, so the Squashy Grapes are up for elimination. This is where the viewers of this show votes who gets eliminated. But I would like to use this time to tell you guys about my own personal headcanon. I personally do not think it is humans, like me and you watching this video. I don't think that we're the votes that appear in the show. Instead, I think that all the recommended characters that we see and all the people who watch BFDI in universe are the voters. I feel like that just makes so much more sense. And then this brings up a lot of questions. There's someone on this board who we know is a huge, not a huge, the biggest BFDI fan. And that begs the question, who did vote when he watched BFDI when it was first airing? I want to hear what you guys think about my theory in the comments below, but I just think it makes so much sense. We know that in universe, Battle for Dream Island is this huge show, this huge phenomenon that everyone wants to be a part of and everybody wants the chance to compete. So we know that the audience exists in universe to give the thousands of votes. I don't know, something really interesting to think about. But anyways, yeah, grapes are UFE. And the first one eliminated is Flower.
Woo!
That's my girlfriend, who I actually introduced to BFDI. Her reactions are uploaded onto my channel, so y'all should totally check that out. But yeah, Flower is the first one eliminated, and she is sent to the TLC, aka the Tiny Loser Chamber. In this episode, we get an ad break and are introduced to our local product maker, Yellowface. This episode's challenge is an obstacle course, and the grapes make a comeback, and the cherries are up for elimination. Episode 3, and the next one eliminated is Spongy. This episode's contest is a test, and the cherries lose once again. And in episode 4, the one eliminated is Blocky, since he cheated on the test last episode. The next contest is cake baking, and the cherries win the first part of the challenge. The first part though, because the grapes end up winning in the second part of the challenge, which is to eat 100 chocolate balls. Well, since the challenge is tied, Profiley suggests to announcer a tiebreaker, which would be a literal tiebreaker. And Snowball comes in clutch by ripping that tie, and the grapes win once again. Cherries are going back to cake at stake. After being in the bottom 2 for the last 2 rounds, Woody is the next one eliminated. The next challenge is to cross a bridge, and both challenges don't have a single member who can make it to the other side, which means that we need the tiebreaker once again. Snowball wins it. Cherries are UFE. Unfortunately, in this episode, the wonderfully beautiful, universally admired, stunningly courageous, mind-bogglingly modest, heroic leader, Pin, is eliminated. Looks like we'll have to see how the cherries do without their leader. But in this episode, the teams are temporarily disbanded into 5 teams of 3. Pencil, Match, and Bubble, aka the Alliance, sticks together. Firey joins the 2 bros. Needle, Coiny, and Ice Cube get grouped together. Teardrop, Tennis Ball, and Leafy get grouped together, which leaves Snowball with his arch nemesis Golf Ball and Rocky. In this episode, the teams have to travel through 3 small islands, each with a challenge on it. And the team that ends up coming in last place is Coiny, Ice Cube, and Needy. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Needle does not like being called Needy. And probably due to all of her slapping urges, out of these 3, Needle is the next one eliminated. In this episode, the challenge is to finish completing a puzzle first. I don't even think I have to say it anymore. Of course the grapes won. But in this episode, the losing team doesn't get put up for elimination. Instead, the winning team gets to pick someone from the losing team onto theirs. And unfortunately for Coiny, who hates this guy's guts, Firey is the new member of the Squashy Grapes. This episode's challenge is a relay. You have to run to a tree with one of your team members on your back and then go back to the start. And I mean, I said I wasn't gonna say it. You guys already know who wins. But for a second time in a row, no one's gonna be getting eliminated. And that's because there's no space in the TLC. The reason being because the people who volunteered to enlarge it accidentally made it smaller, meaning that we need one of the eliminated contestants to come back into the game and join the grapes. Like I said before, it's really cool to think about who Superfan 4 would vote for in this episode. And I'd probably say that it'd have to be the universally admired pin, but unfortunately that is not who joins the game. The person who ends up joining the game is Blocky! And now the Squashy Grapes double the amount of members that the Squishy Cherries have. And since they outnumber the Cherries by so much, the announcer shakes up the game. The 10-member team is now going to be split up into 2 teams of 5. Since the announcer's favorite number is 5, he lets Leafy and Rocky choose the new teams. Leafy chooses Ice Cube, Rocky chooses TB, Leafy chooses TD, and TB chooses GB, since he and her are a duo. Leafy chooses SB, TB chooses Coiny, and Leafy chooses Blocky. Which, unfortunately for Coiny, I mean, man, this guy keeps getting losses, because now Firey is on his team once again. Poor guy. The announcers let them choose their own team names this time. And Leafy decides to stick with the Squashy Grapes. Okay, good decision. And Firey wants to be the Squashy Grapes too. And Golf Ball tells him, she says that their team has to be another name. So their team is another name. The challenge is a 6-legged race in which the Cherries finally win. They get first place, and second place goes to another name, which means that the Grapes, for the first time in a long time, are up for elimination. Alongside the addition of upgrading to 3 teams, the announcer adds another rule to the game, and that being the 2 people from the losing team that had the most votes will both be kicked off the team, and the winning team will be able to pick whichever one they want to join their team. Whoever they don't pick will be sent to the TLC. Grapes are up for elimination. The 2 people with the most votes, Snowball and TD. And out of the 2, the Cherries pick Snowball to be on their team. And our friend Teardrop, who does not talk, is the next one sent into the TLC. Today's challenge is which team can cry the most. They all tie, so we need a tiebreaker, and this time the tiebreaker is a skiing contest. We know that the Grapes got second place, but we don't know which out of these 2 teams got first, due to the fact that they both rolled down the ski mountain in big snowballs. So we need a tiebreaker, again. And it is not a tiebreaker, man. Come on, I found that joke funny. So the names lose the handstanding contest and are put up for elimination. In this Cake at Stake, Golf Ball and Rocky got the most votes, meaning that one of these 2 will be the new member of the Cherries, who are on a 2-time winning streak. Who will it be? Well, if you paid attention when we were talking about episode 1, you will know that a racer will do anything to get away from Golf Ball. So the Bossy Bot is sent to the TLC and Rocky is sent on to the Cherries. And oh no, Tennis Ball is stuck with the Slappers! In episode 11's challenge, everyone is floating in the sky with a balloon, and the challenge is to pop the other team's balloons. Grapes get first, Cherries get second, and the namers lose for a second time in a row. In the Cake at Stake, Coiny and Tennis Ball got the most votes, leaving Firey alone on another name. Both of these guys plead their case to the Grapes on why they think they deserve to stay. Coiny gives such an emotional speech. Let me play it for you guys.
Leafy, Icy, Blocky, please, let me stay. Don't think of me as just a fiery slapper. Think about me as someone who wants a second chance at winning Dream Island.
Yeah, never mind. That's gotta be the worst speech that I've ever heard. Tennis Ball makes a really good point that Coiny and Firey would just slap each other all day long, which means that our favorite sassy coin is eliminated. And oh my goodness, you will not believe it. You will not believe it, but we made it to a new stage in the game, and that is the merge. There are no more teams. So yeah, now there are no more teams. The announcer switches up the games. Instead, now there is a point system. The episode's challenge is to climb a ladder, and depending on how good you do, you gain points. And if you've ever gotten a vote at Kick at Stake before, you get minus points. And the 4 people with the lowest amount of points will be up for elimination. In this episode, that ends up being Bubble, Rocky, Tennis Ball, and Snowball. And we hit another milestone, and that being we are no longer in 2010, but instead in 2011. The person sent to the TLC is Snowball! There you go, I'll put you right under your arch nemesis. This episode's challenge is to find a red ball and give it to the announcer. Max, who tried to give the announcer a maroon ball, ends up being up for elimination, alongside Ice Cube and Tennis Ball and Rocky again. It's a pretty sad day for the Alliance because Match is eliminated in this Cake at Stake. And that leaves us with the final 10. We're halfway there, and what? Man, the announcer loves to extend the season because there's a rejoin challenge. This time the viewers do not vote though. The challenge is to bring loaves into their respective basket. And although it's close between a couple people like my favorite Pin or Flower, who has this fierce determination, Spongy is the one who ends up getting the most loaves into his basket, and he rejoins the game. This challenge is to jump hurdles. Gotta be one of my favorites. And Firey, alongside Leafy, Eraser, and Ice Cube, are up for elimination. The bros couldn't be together forever, as Eraser is the next one eliminated and sent to the TLC. This episode, the contestants have the choice of 2 challenges. They can either float in a giant barf bag or make a taco. And by the end of the point totals, Pen, Bubble, and Rocky are up for elimination. Pen did not need to worry about not seeing his bro Eraser because he is going to join him in the TLC. Today's challenge is bowling with a surprise twist at the end. The person with the most points would be the only person immune, and everyone else would be up for elimination. And that ends up being Firey, leaving the rest of the cast to the UFE. And that's how we lost all 3 Musketeers, as Blocky joined his best friends in the TLC. And that's our first rejoiner eliminated. The next challenge is to catch 3 Frisbees with your partner. Depending on how good or bad you do in this challenge will affect your points. Which leads us with Leafy, Ice Cube, and TB being up for elimination. But plot twist, the contestants are going to be voting who gets eliminated because the viewers are going to be voting for a recommended character to join the game. The voters can choose from 8-Ball, Balloony, Barf Bag, Basketball, Bell, Bomby, Book, Clock, Cloudy, David, Dora, Eggy, Evil Leafy, Fanny, Fries, Grassy, Marker, Naily, Nickel, Non-Existy, Pie, Pillow, Remote, Robot Flower, Roboty, Ruby, Saw, Taco, Tree, and TV. Man, I'm running out of room on this thing. Now it's time for a double Kick at Stake. Ice Cube gets only 1 vote, while TB and Leafy both get 2. The announcer brings them in front of a ledge and says the first one to jump stays in the game. TB is the first one who jumps, but he doesn't make it across, while Leafy, due to a crazy series of events, does make it across. TB is eliminated. Now it's time for the debut, and I will not be listing all their names off again. Instead, I'm just gonna tell you who joins. And if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you already know that it's David. And these 29 go into the locker of losers, aka the LOL. In this episode, the people in the tiny loser chamber try to escape. They aren't successful, I just figured I'd mention that. They're dying to get out of there as they've been there for 18 months. As for our remaining contestants, the contest is a staring contest. Pencil ends up winning, but now that the scoreboard can only hold 2 digits, she gets sent to the bottom, which means that she is up for elimination. And joining her is Firey, and you might be able to tell due to the big space that I left, but Spongy is also UFE. Due to her kind of becoming a little feisty, Pencil surprisingly gets eliminated. The next contest is a unicycle race, and Spongy, why don't you just stay there because you, Ice Cube, and newbie David are UFE. And I did want to mention that in this episode we see a glimpse inside of Announcer's diary. In it we get to see that he has what is called an Earth attraction unit inside of him, and that's the only thing that's keeping him on Earth. But it's becoming too expensive to afford, so space is slowly trying to pull him back to where he's from. And speaking of space, that is where episode 20 is going to take place due to budget cuts. So now, the announcer, alongside our 7 remaining contestants, oh wait, no, make that 6 because David just got eliminated, even though he just joined the game. But yeah, so announcer alongside our 6 remaining contestants are somewhere in space. And so are these 8. That's pretty cool to think that biggest BFDI fan 4 is just a little distance away from his favorite characters. I forgot to say that the points disbanded last episode, so now they are competing for individual immunity, so the immunity slots are getting lower. This episode having only 2 immunities, being Bubble and Leafy. Speaking of Leafy, her and Firey have started to talk and become good friends. But surprise, surprise, we are having our final rejoin. So this time, the eliminated contestants will be voting which out of these 4 they want eliminated, and the viewers will be voting one of these people to rejoin the game for a final time. The cast is now back from space and can see the beautiful plains once again, but one of them not for long because the eliminated contestants will be voting someone out. And they end up going with Ice Cube because they want to cool down the TLC. So sorry Ice Cube, no more beautiful sights. Instead, you will be locked in a dark chamber for, you only got 4 more months. And now it is time to see which eliminated contestant will be joining the cast. And surprisingly, the 2011 viewers decided to bring back Flower? What? Hey, I mean, I'm not complaining. I find her ruthlessness so funny. If you voted for her, thanks for her. I wonder if the other algebraliens are also watching BFDI from wherever they are in space. And that begs a question. If my theory is true, did all these guys also vote in season 1 before they competed in future seasons? And it is time to see which 2 people win immunity for this episode. And surprisingly, it's not going to be Rejoiner Flower. What? Were you trying to kick her out right away, Raiders? It's going to be Leafy and Spongy. We got our final 6, and it's about to be the final 5. I can't wait for Announcer to do the kick at stake. And what? Announcer is dead? Spongy crushed Announcer? Oh my goodness, Spongy, no! No, you killed the host! I'm sure that most of you guys have already seen the show, but if you haven't, then you should know that all these characters are able to die and come back to life via recovery centers. The only reason why I have this dead section over here is to illustrate points like that where Announcer gets killed, or when 3 died, or when we have a death that's gonna last a lot of episodes. But as for Bubble easily getting popped and then being brought back to life, I'm not going to be moving her in the dead section just to bring her back right away. But now that our host is dead, what do? Well, luckily for us, Firey and Flower have their own speaker boxes just hanging around. So the hosts are now Flower speaker box and Firey speaker box. Anyways, let's finally get to the elimination. Whoa, Rocky is out. Today's challenge is to escape a volcano, but everyone ends up escaping at the same time via being recovered by the recovery center. So the tiebreaker is a beauty contest with Flower speaker box and Firey speaker box being the judges, and surprise, surprise, but Flower and Firey win immunity this episode because aren't they so beautiful? You better call Flower beautiful or else she'll kick you. Isn't she beautiful? Episode 23 now. We got 2 more to go, and no! We lost another one! No! Flower accidentally kills her own speaker box! This is such a sad day for the 5 Flower speaker box fans. I'm one of them. But now it's time for Cake at Stake, and what? Announcer comes back via Announcer Recovery Center. An announcer asks, who is this guy? And Firey speaker box tells him that he is his replacement. And then out come a bunch of other speaker boxes and Cheese Orb. Announcer acts like he doesn't know them, but in a couple episodes we will find out that he actually does and works with the other speaker boxes to broadcast BFDI. So Firey speaker box can go with these guys, and I actually put Firey speaker box right there. And that's Firey speaker box's clone. It's not a mistake. And these guys disappear after the Kick at Stake, but don't worry, we'll see them soon. And the reason why Cheese Orb wasn't in that big picture with all the other speaker boxes is because announcer kills him for the Kick at Stake prize. So Cheese Orb will join Flower speaker box in the dead section. Let's give a moment of silence for the 6 Cheese Orb fans. That was good enough. But so Spongy is eliminated. And the next contest is all 22 previous challenges. A lot of stuff happens, like Flower being a menace. Bubble and Leafy have one final face-off where Bubble tells Leafy that she is not that good of a person. And Bubs ends up winning immunity. In this episode, BFDI is almost cancelled since their vote count has continuously been going down. An announcer said that if it kept going down, he would cancel the show. I guess he sees something in BFDI. BFDI must be like his prized possession, because he decides to keep it going. While the votes are being counted, we get an ad break, a Yellowface ad, and we get the debut of a new character, that being Purpleface. Purpleface shows up in Yellowface's ad, and Yellowface is not happy. Yellowface does not like Purpleface because Purpleface is purple and not yellow, I guess. Anyways, I do not think that it is a surprise that Flower ends up being eliminated. And now that we are at our final 3, there is no more immunity. There is no more up for elimination, because instead we are having one final vote where the viewers get a vote for who they want to win. Who will it be? Will it be Leafy, the leader of the grapes? Or will it be Bubble, one of the members of the Alliance? Or will it be Firey, the Coiny slapper who has hardly done anything all season? I wonder who it will be. Well, you guys are not gonna find out just yet because we have to celebrate, because it is now a new year. 2012 is starting. We are no longer in 2011. They have been battling for 2 years. Woo! And 4 has been watching happily from somewhere in space. Okay, now we are finally gonna be able to find out who wins, right? No, we are not. Because before BFDI 25, we have BFDI episode 255555555. We know that canonically, the real world is actually a location in BFDI. Part of it is a bedroom that seems to be somehow connected to 4. But anyways, this is a joke video. A parody, maybe you could say, of BFDI 25, because instead of announcer being the host, we have Hello Kevin. And instead of Leafy, Bubble, and Firey, we have Stapy, Lie, and Foldy. Canonically, these guys should look like real-life objects, but I decided to use their animated versions because we're going to see them later, and canonically, we know that these 3 have some history together, which we can assume is from the BFDI episode. But anyways, on to the finale! And now, we can finally begin the finale, the 25th episode of Battle for Dream Island. We will find out which one of these 3 contestants will be the winner of Dream Island. And for the one person out there that hasn't seen this show yet, I'm going to take it upon myself to make this suspenseful. So, here we go. We got 3rd place right here. Who is it going to be? Whoa. Whoa. And the 3rd place goes to Bubble. Unfortunately, Bubble places 3rd. I personally think she should have won, but I'm okay with her not winning because of the storyline that they decide to give to these 2. Just wait, we'll get there. So if I go with the 2nd place, y'all aren't gonna know who wins. So we're just gonna go with announcing 1st place. And the winner of Battle for Dream Island Season 1, the winner of Dream Island, is Firey! That means that Leafy places 2nd. And if you guys remember, the winner gets to decide who can go in and who doesn't. So we're going to go over who Firey decides to let in. He lets the bros in, Eraser, Pen, Blocky. He lets Golf Ball in, Tennis Ball, even people like Spongy, Barf and Rocky, even Flower the Menace. Last 2 people waiting in line are Coiny and Leafy. Firey originally says no to Coiny, but Coiny tells him that even though they have hated each other, that makes them know each other the best. And seems like they make up. They give each other a hug, and Coiny is let onto Dream Island. Leafy is so happy. She is walking up, and Firey does not let her into the Dream Island gates. The reason being because last episode, when Leafy was in a Ferris wheel that had a lava fall, Leafy said, "Get me out of this thing," which is reasonable. She was gonna die. But this really hurt Firey's feelings. Which I used to hate this storyline, but let's give Firey the benefit of the doubt, and let's say Firey was secretly working on this Ferris wheel all season, and that's why we didn't really get much from him as a character, because he was working on this Ferris wheel for Leafy for the whole season. 25 months of work, and Leafy said, "Get me out of this thing." So Firey was hurt and does not let Leafy into the Dream Island gates. At this point, we see Leafy start to flicker into evil Leafy, like flicker in and out of regular Leafy and evil Leafy. And this is a little weird, because from what we know, they're not the same person, but they're somehow connected. Maybe when Leafy's mad, that's what spawns evil Leafy. We don't exactly know at this point, because the creators are still finishing up the evil Leafy storyline. But so, Leafy calls up Announcer and buys Dream Island off of Announcer with a box of paper slips sold by Yellowface. The Announcer's happy because he feels like he made the funds back from the show, even though he could have just bought the box of paper slips himself and given himself the money, but we're gonna give him the benefit of the doubt too. But so Leafy now owns Dream Island. So when all the contestants, when they're in the gates, they notice there's no Dream Island. Everyone confronts Firey. They're like, They're like, where's Leafy? Did you not let Leafy in? And then Firey goes, oh look, there's a UFO. And they're like, nice try, but no, a UFO actually does end up sucking up Tennis Ball, Match, Woody, and Snowball. And in the UFO, we actually see the speaker boxes. Because this is no ordinary UFO. No, this is an announcer transportation device, an ATD. So while that's going on, we're back to the contestants, and Flower and Bubble start getting into it. Bubble starts telling Flower about how she's sick of how Flower acts and how Flower is not a nice person. And Flower, infuriated, destroys the recovery centers, meaning that the contestants, the characters, they cannot be recovered if they die. If they die, they are permanently dead. And to put the cherry on top, Flower pops Bubble, meaning that Bubble is temporarily dead. Now back in the UFO, Woody dies of his fear of the color gray, and Woody is also temporarily killed off. And luckily for all these contestants, before Flower can go ahead and probably kill the rest of them, the ATD lands on Flower and permanently kills Flower. So we permanently lost 3 characters of this ensemble in the span of just a couple of minutes. And now that the speaker boxes are on Earth, they go to announcer and they tell him that the campaign has failed and that they have to go back to their home. Announcer seems like he's about to ask something. He's like, wait, what about? And they interrupt him and say they can come back. So we do know that announcer actually did know these speaker boxes, which contradicts what happened a couple episodes ago, if you remember. But yeah, announcer gets in the ATD and they fly off into space. And they presumably go back to announcer's home. Now, we have never seen this even up to the current point in the timeline. We've never seen announcer's home, but from what we have seen so far, we can assume what it's like. For example, we have the algebralian planet, which is filled with these talking numbers. We also have the planet Earth, which is filled with all of the talking objects. So, we can easily assume that there is another planet, probably inhabited by speaker boxes. So they go to announcer's home, otherwise known as possibly the speaker box planet. We even got evidence to support this in TPOT 20, where we see a planet full of skateboards. So we know that in the BFDI universe, there's planets that can contain sentient objects like skateboards, of the whole planet just filled with skateboards, or a whole planet filled with numbers, whole planet full of objects. Don't think it's a stretch to say there might be a whole planet full of speaker boxes. But so, still infuriated, the contestants find out that Leafy stole Dream Island. This is because Pin actually talks to Leafy, a down-to-earth talk to her old Alliance member from the first episode when they teamed up on the balance beam, and it's a new side of Pin. It seems like when she's not competing or when she's not trying to lead, she actually can be nice. So she talks to Leafy to make her feel better by not being let into Dream Island, and that's when Leafy lets it slip. She lets it slip that she knows that Firey never got Dream Island, so everyone pieces it together that Leafy stole Dream Island, and they are about to execute Leafy. Everybody's like, go, 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 go. But that's when Firey comes in. He swoops in a hang glider, picks up Leafy, and the two fly off into the sunset. Now, before we get into BFDI Season 2, something actually comes before it. Well, not even before it. This takes place during Season 1, but we don't know the exact time frame, so I decided to stick it here, right after Season 1. And that is BFDIE, which is actually Battle for Dream Island Season 6, but it takes place during Season 1. Turns out that during the events of Season 1, the announcer was hosting another competition elsewhere. That being BFDI Elsewhere. And the contestants this season are Sidewalky, Rose, Sticker, Beach Ball, Jammy, Money, Fern, Ruler, Toothpaste, Hot Dog, Needy, and David. Yeah, David from season 1. This is the same character here in BFDI elsewhere. And the prize for this season is Nightmare Island. So the opposite of Dream Island. Nightmare Island is a whole square mile of wasteland with a 0-star hotel, a prison, no restaurants, dangerous robots, and the winner even gets to decide who's trapped on it and who's not. This season is a little different though, which is why I'm not going to be going through the whole thing in detail. Because there's no teams, and the person eliminated is the person who places last in the challenge. It's not even due to viewer voting. That's why I'm just going to run through this quick. Hot Dog's out, Money's out, Beach Ball's out, Rose is out, David and Jammy get out. Rejoin time, Money's back in, Ruler's out. Toothpaste out, Needy's out. Money comes in fourth, who, by the way, started off as a very nice person, and then she became evil when she rejoined back into the game. Now that leaves us with our finalists, the final 3. The show treats this final challenge as whoever wins it wins the show, but in reality, the show was collecting votes from the viewers to see who the viewers' favorite character was, and surprisingly, the character with the most votes was actually the person who ended up placing first in this final challenge. Unfortunately, it's not the GOAT Sidewalky, not Sticker, but Fern, who wins BFDIE. So Fern gets Nightmare Island, and since she's so nice, she doesn't want to send anyone to it, but Toothpaste gets Money trapped on the island, and Money is forever trapped on Nightmare Island. I mean, I'm hoping that someday we'll get to see all these characters again, and maybe we'll even see Money get out of Nightmare Island. But as for now, according to the BFDI timeline, since this took place back in 2010 and 2011, I think that Money has been in Nightmare Island since 2011 for the last 15 years. And if that's true, then she should become just as crazy as one. Maybe worse. Maybe she is going to be the villain for BFDI Season 7. But yeah, that was BFDIE. Again, I try to keep this one short because the challenges and voting worked different from the other seasons. But yeah, Fern's our winner. These are our runner-ups. Money's forever trapped on Nightmare Island. And David and Announcer get back to the rest of the Season 1 cast to get back to the regular BFDI. So we'll put these guys up here. They're not going to be on the bulletin board. Instead, they're going to be elsewhere. And that leads us straight to Season 2. Leafy's no longer on the hang glider with Firey and instead is being chased by all the Season 1 contestants. They end up running her out of Gaty, and she now takes refuge in Yoyland. Since Leafy is now 2,763 miles away from them, they're pretty content, and they stop the chase. So for some context, Jack and Jellyfy posted a video to one of their secondary channels, where they gave the viewers the option to vote for the cast of Season 2. The viewers could choose between 60 characters, and only 22 of them would end up joining the game. So the cool thing is that every viewer had 20 votes. They could put all the votes towards one character, I would use all mine on Pin, or they could split it for multiple characters. But now that begs a question. I said that the viewers had a chance to choose out of 60 characters. There's only 50 here. Well, I'm gonna now introduce the 10 newbies. Black Hole, Bottle, Firey Jr., Puffball, Bracelety, Lightning, Lollipop, Cake, Donut, and Gaty. And now we're gonna see which 22 made the season. Bomby, Coiny, Dora, Firey, Fries, new character, Gelatin, Golf Ball, Ice Cube, Match, Needle, Pencil, Pin, Spongy, Tennis Ball, Rocky, Donut, Nickel, Ruby, Teardrop, and Leafy, Flower, and Bubble. But a paper with the season's rules just comes out of the sky, comes out of nowhere. The contestants don't know this, but not just the announcer, but the speaker boxes are all running Season 2 in secret. They're running the show while not being present. The reason why they do it in secret? I don't know. Like, seriously, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want the characters to confront him about where Dream Island went. Maybe it's because of that speaker box algebralian feud that is not actually canon. I'm just making that up. That's just a random thing I made up. But maybe they got wind that Algebralian 4 was watching the show and they don't want to appear on the show. I don't know. And we know that it's not just the announcer running it, but these guys too. We know that because in BFDIA 22, the triangle speaker box chimes in to tell us who got eliminated that episode since the elimination was being dragged out. The announcer chimes in from announcer's home in space to tell us the results. So we can assume that all these guys are a part of hosting the season, but in secret. So we'll just put our friend the announcer right here in the top corner. Because like I said, he's running it in secret, and instead we need someone to fill in for the host. And the contestants decide that the TV is the closest to the announcer and should run the show. But I got off track. So, the paper with the rules. The first rule is that contestants not present cannot compete. Meaning that Leafy, who's in Yoyo Land, Bubble and Flower, who were permanently dead, and Non-Existy right here, who didn't even make it onto the 22 leaderboard, they can all not compete. Meaning that the 23rd to 25th placers will be taking these three's place. And that is Book, Puffball, and someone who wasn't even up for the season 2 voting, but still somehow managed to get enough votes, Yellowface. Now, rule 2 is that all eliminated contestants must be killed. Oh crap, there aren't any recovery centers. Oh, never mind. The actual rule is that all eliminated contestants must be treated with TLC. Oh, wait! So all these guys now get treated with TLC, and then TLC gets put in the LOL. So there's no way these guys are getting out of here. Now as for teams, Tennis Ball suggests that one team should have the original contestants, while the other has the newbies. But Donut, who's a play-it-by-the-book type of guy, calls out the fact that they have one more member and forces Match onto his team. This obviously does not make Pencil happy, and her and Donut start to feud. This doesn't last long though, because the last rule is that a player may switch teams if they want before a contest starts. And this aspect, oh my goodness, this aspect of the show is so cool because, yeah, before any episode, someone could switch teams. This creates so many character dynamics, so many storylines that could be done, so many ideas. And to start off, the writers take this concept to the extreme. When Match switches over, all the newbies don't want to be part of the smaller team. So all of them go over to the other team, leaving just Donut alone over here because, of course, this guy needs to stand by his principles. After almost getting slapped by Firey though, Coiny decides to switch over onto Donut's team. And then literally everybody on this team gangs up to kick Pin out of their team by telling her that she needs to switch. The first challenge is a tug of war, and yeah, I'm sure you know which team won. Episode 2 time, baby, and the smaller team is about to go to Cake at Steak. This leads to Pin starting to sweat ooze. Since Pin sweat ooze, Coiny decides they need a team name though. So Pin suggests the Coiny Pin Donut Bunch. Coiny says he needs a little more pizzazz. He says he can roll like a wheel, Pin is covered in ooze, and Donut's got a hole. So what's the team name gonna be? We'll lose a whole bunch! Oh, and yeah, Profiley says that he's like a ray of sunshine, and he's like, come on, Coiny, you didn't add my part in, but nobody noticed Profiley. I don't know if you guys even noticed him on the board. And so, these guys officially become Whoa Bunch. And big surprise, they lose Donut, because, of course, Donut was being a little mean in the first episode. Or as Barfbag says, he was standing by his principles. Oh, and I forgot to mention, in this season, there's not just dislikes, but also likes for the votings. And in this episode, Coiny got the most likes, and he won Yoyo Seeds. Before the challenge starts, Coiny forces Teardrop onto his team. He gives her the chance to speak up if she doesn't want to be on it, but she can't speak. Anyways, the challenge is to make Yoyo stew, and now you see how Coiny's prize came in handy. While looking for ingredients in the evil forest, Spongy gets possessed by evil Leafy. We don't really know what exactly this does, even up to date. We don't know what the whole point of evil Leafy's possession is. It's just a little scary. So you might ask, evil Leafy was in the LOL. Well, the LOL actually has a window that evil Leafy is able to phase through, and that's how she gets out of it. But anyways, Team Wobunch wins, and what's their team name? We'll just go with this. Team No Name is up for elimination. The prize for this elimination is a personal speaker box, and it's won by Puffball. So Puffball speaker box becomes the new host. And Dora, why don't you go rock out in the TLC? Before the challenge, Coiny tries to get another member, this time with an interesting strategy. He threatens to call Needle needy 3 times in a row. Needle switches, and now Wobunch is up to 4. Today's challenge is to kill bugs in a glass container, and a lot of people die. And since there's no recovery centers, we're going to be putting them up into the dead corner. So those contestants end up being Teardrop, Fries, Yellowface, Rocky, Golf Ball, Bomby, and Coiny. And actually, so interesting thing to mention, Ruby joins Match and Pencil's alliance. And Pencil is able to recover Bubble by using a bubble wand to blow a bubble. So Bubble is here, but she is not an actual contestant, but she won't be here for long because she actually also dies in this episode. And since Bomby blew up his team's container, Team No Name wins. The prize for this elimination is a hand-powered recovery center or immunity into the final 15. Since Teardrop got the most likes, she decides to just go with the hand-powered recovery center. And so everyone is back from the dead. Oh, and yeah, evil Leafy unpossessed Spongy at the end of last episode. And instead, she possesses Flower when Ruby decides to bring her back for whatever reason. But back to the elimination, the person eliminated is Teardrop, who got the most likes and the most dislikes. So, wanting to go for a round of double teammates, Coiny threatens to ignite Bomby with Firey unless he joins his team. And they recruit Yellowface. Book and Ice Cube join the alliance as alternates. But so, this is the episode when the contestants finally question, what are we battling for? If Dream Island got stolen last season and we don't know where it is, what are we even battling for? So the challenge this episode is to make a Dream Island. Team No Name uses the Dream Sauce from Golf Ball's factory to create a Dream Island, which begs the question, why is Golf Ball even competing if she could create a Dream Island? But who knows, maybe she just likes competition. But unfortunately for them, their Dream Island ends up getting exploded by Bomby, meaning that Wobunch automatically wins, and whatever they made is going to be the prize. And they made a farm with the cattle for Dream Island and a saddle for Dream Island. So yeah, this is the prize this season. Episode 5 marks her transition into 2013. Oh yeah. Weirdly enough, the Evil Leafy plot doesn't really go anywhere. And Evil Leafy comes back to Gaty from Yoyoland. But when she goes up to Firey, Firey acts like he doesn't know who she is. And Gelatin kills Leafy. Before that though, Pin tries to kill Leafy and misses and accidentally stabs the Puffball speaker box, so she is out of commission. And somehow, even though Firey's speaker box is supposed to be in space, Firey somehow pulls him out of nowhere, making him the new host. In the elimination, Puffball gets the most votes again, and her prize is the removal of another contestant's limbs. She chooses Pin, since Pin took out her speaker box. And the person eliminated is Match, and she is actually not flung to the TLC because Pencil pulls out the elimination prevention plan. So Match is still eliminated, but just like Bubble, she's going to be hanging out with the Alliance. Wobunch gains Spongy and Nickel onto their team. This leads Golf Ball to start to worry. She doesn't want to lose any more people, so she makes everybody promise to not leave. All these guys do, but Pencil wants the freedom to choose if she wants to leave or not. So her and the Alliance leave Team No Name to form their own team. They form this new team to have more freedom. But they don't want to sound dumb, so it's obvious what their team name should be. Free Smart! So now we got our 3 teams. Free Smart, No Name, and Wobunch. And the next challenge is to travel 2,763 miles to Yoyo City. A lot of the cast dies, and since the hand-powered recovery center was inside of Evil Leafy, and Evil Leafy got crushed, they need to use the hand-powered recovery center creator. And yeah, they leave the plains and make it to Yoyo City. Free Smart makes it in first, and as Team No Name is about to make it to the summit of Yoyo Mountain on top of Puffball, Puffball remembers how every single time they're UFE, she wins the prize. So she self-sabotages, leading Wobunch to get second place and Team No Name being UFE. Match is sent to the TLC, and Bubble is flung but does not make it inside the TLC, so we can assume that she has died. At the start of the episode, the announcer appears to the Firey speaker box, telling him that he might have been caught in one of the episodes, telling him to eat yo-yo berries so he turns into metal and looks like him, and to do it for the team FSB. Interesting. I wonder what all these speaker boxes are up to. But elimination time. Firey gets the most likes and gets a meteor shield, which comes in handy when Puffball comes flying down from space at him and gets flung into the TLC. Rocky takes back his promise as he switches over to Wobunch, and now everyone is ready for the next challenge. The next challenge is to find a comfy room to sleep in overnight. Evil Leafy respawns to terrorize the contestants when she is summoned inside of the Live Here hotel. But Team No Name ends up being able to go to bed, followed up by Free Smart, leaving Wobunch to be UFE this episode. Due to the horrible kick at stake intros that TV has been producing so far this season, the contestants decide to eliminate TV and they send him into the LOL. When flung though, TV grabs the key and gets locked inside of the LOL with it, meaning that no one can now open the LOL since TV has the key. So TV doomed himself along with the 40 other people in the LOL to be trapped in here for who knows how long. The prize is to get painted a random color, and Bomby ends up being painted purple, which he will be for the rest of the season. And the person eliminated is Rocky, who just switched onto the team. But because of TV, now no one can get in the LOL, so the challenge is to create a new loser chamber. Now, this is crazy, guys. This is a full circle moment. At the beginning of the episode, Ruby, when in space with the other Alliancers, catches what she thinks is a meteor, but it is actually some yo-yo light. Tennis Ball goes insane when hearing the news, because as a scientist, Tennis Ball has heard a lot about yo-yo light and knows it as a powerful mineral. He hears that it's only for free smarters only. So he thinks about switching onto their team, but knows that if he does, Golf Ball would not be happy. So he recruits Firey and Gelatin to go onto the Free Smart team and get the yo-yo light for him. But the Free Smarters didn't hear the challenge, and Firey and Gelatin just decide to sabotage the team by not telling them it. Wobunch makes a loser chamber and it ends up being destroyed. And Golf Ball is stuck to a tree in the Yoyo Woodlands. Even though he and GB ended up nerding out, Tennis Ball creates a weak trembling fortress, otherwise known as the WTF. And that is where Rocky gets sent. And sorry about that, I had to fix up the board, but since Free Smart did not end up doing anything, they are UFE. Now this episode begins with introduction of new character Lewis, who was featured in last episode's Kick at Stake intro. Everyone goes back to the plains for the elimination, which Free Smart wants to have inside of the Eiffel Tower. The bottom two ends up being between Pencil and Firey, and narrowly Pencil survives, and Firey joins Rocky in the WTF. And Firey's elimination causes Firey speaker box to break down crying. He cannot host anymore, which leads Puffball speaker box to come back in and take his place. Today's challenge is to paint the Eiffel Tower your team's respective color, being green, purple, or pink. Free Smart's pink paint ends up on the ground, so Ice Cube takes charge and leads her and Book to swing the Eiffel Tower from side to side. That way they can bend the tower over so it can get pink paint on it as it comes back up. And through this, the Eiffel Tower hits inside into Gelatin's newly rebranded Shades house and hits the cash register that Coiny ended up inside earlier in the episode, and Coiny gets flung into space. Oh my goodness, that was a mouthful. But yeah, it's crazy to think that any of these numbers could just be casually looking and seeing a cash register just floating through space. But so, when Puffball Speaker Box does her judging, Gelatin, to help out his team No Name brethren, gives Puffball Speaker Box glasses that make purple things appear yellow. And since there's no purple paint on the Eiffel Tower, according to her site, Wobunch is up for elimination. We're jumping into 2014 with BFDIA 9. During this episode's Cake at Stake, we get the surprise return of Purple Face, who comes in to confront Yellowface. Well, actually, not really even confront about anything. Just to tell Yellowface that he's making a new product. But if you remember, Yellowface does not like the color purple, and he shows Purpleface his new product. His Beryllium Fortress, Destruction Impossible, and traps Purpleface inside. This guy literally did like nothing. I don't know what's wrong with Yellowface. But well, Yellowface gets eliminated and dies. Gelatin finally switches back to Team No Name, and this episode's contest is charades in trash compactors. The goal is to guess what your team member's charade is before they get crushed by the trash compactor. The first team to have all their members die is UFE. And to make a long story short, No Name is up for elimination. And Golf Ball is finally outside of the Yo-Yo Woodlands. And Coiny dies in space. Now it is time for BFDIA 10, and Tennis Ball wins the most likes, and his prize is a swap token. He can use this at any point in the competition to make someone swap teams. And the person eliminated is Gelatin. Welcome to the WTF, buddy. Now, the challenge is about to start, and Ice Cube does what everyone sees as a beautiful face. So everyone, which includes all of Wobunch and Tennis Ball, swap over to be a part of Ice Cube's team. And Tennis Ball uses the swap token to get Golf Ball over. And these guys will now be known as the Beautiful Face Devotion Institute, otherwise known as BFDI. While Fries, on the other hand, sees this whole thing as dumb and just makes his own team. The challenge is to sell the most ice cream, and the Beautiful Facers lose. It's elimination time in BFDIA 11. For getting the most likes, Ice Cube gets to choose to remove a contestant's face. And even though she already has her limbs removed, Ice Cube chooses Pin for revenge. So Pin is now faceless and limbless. The person eliminated ends up being Spongy, who doesn't go to the WTF. So we'll put him up here. This is where I'm keeping all the side characters, I guess, which don't really fit in any of the other areas. And now it's time for our team swapping time. After Ice Cube does her ugly face, the Beautiful Face team disbands. Fries, Golf Ball, and TB go back to being Team No Name. And as for these guys form their new team due to their hatred of Ice Cube's face. Bomby suggests that they bully Ice Cube by naming her by Ice's simplest component, being water. Nickel agrees, he hates that open aperture. So Coiny suggests that they be Water's Open Aperture Hater Bunch. So Wobunch again. Oh my goodness, I love that joke. And the reason why Spongy never made it into the WTF is because he's a little bigger, so the weight made him not be able to travel the whole way, and well, he landed on Puffball Speaker Box and killed her. So the cast decides to call Puffball Speaker Box's most recent contact, and that is Flower! So that's right, Flower is now going to take over hosting duties. The challenge is to rip off her petals, and Free Smart loses by only getting one. They are UFE. Ruby wins the prize and is able to choose to shrink a contestant of her choice, and of course, it has to go to Pin. So Pin is now faceless, armless, and little. That's her right there. And the person eliminated ends up being Ice Cube. She gets sent to the WTF. Spongy appears with the cast, and Flower tries to eliminate him, and yeah, this is getting a little awkward. Spongy killed yet another host. So the cast decides to call Flower's most recent contact, and it is Bugs. That's weird, she hates Bugs, but her phone says top hater Bugs. I don't know, the Bugs are the host now. Before her timely death, Ruby got a swap token from Flower, and Free Smart uses it to bring Needle over onto their team. And Fries decides to leave the balls. This episode's challenge is dodgeball, but with bugs. And only one team can win. At a final standoff between Free Smart and Wobunch, Needle betrays her old team to do an act of sacrifice, making Free Smart immune. Now we are on to episode 13, which is a non-competition episode. This episode focuses on 3 different plots. We get to see the 40 characters in the LOL interact with each other. The WTFers leave the WTF to explore Yoyle City. Oh, and Yellowface gets recovered and sent to the WTF, but they leave him in there since he hasn't done his time. And our last storyline is between Coiny and Pin. Coiny tries to help Pin get her size, face, and limbs back, but unfortunately they fail. Now as for the WTFers, on their walk back to the WTF, Firey hangs back. At the HPRC, he decides to recover Leafy. Leafy is recovered, but doesn't see who ends up recovering her. She only sees the quick flash of light. Now it's time for BFDIA 14. Due to her winning the prize, Pin ends up getting her size and face back. Not her limbs though, instead she gets a mech suit. And halfway through the elimination, this is getting old. Spongy crushes the host for a 3rd time in a row. And of course, as she does every time, Golf Ball calls the person on the host's phone to host next. And that ends up being Barf Bag? But what? Barf Bag is in the locker of losers. Yup, that's right. The locker of losers is now the host. Well, the 40 people in the locker of losers, that is. And unfortunately, Golf Ball is eliminated. Now the next challenge requires teams of 2, so all the teams will be taken away. Tennis Ball finds a new partner in Nickel, Bomby with Fries, Coiny with his best pal Pin of course, and Book and Ruby end up together, leaving Pencil and Needle. This episode's challenge is to get to a bunk bed in the sky, but to get there, the contestants need to go through 5 floating islands, each with a challenge. Bubble ends up being recovered this episode and joins the Free Smarters, and then gets popped by the end of it. The challenge on the 5th island is to sing a song that Puffball likes. Ruby records Pin singing and uses auto-tune and ends up getting the pass to go to the bunk bed. This is where Pin rages, and the electrical cord running from her mech suit, which is stretched all across all 5 islands, ends up shooting an electrical current all the way up to the bunk bed, which ends up shocking these 2 just as they're about to step on, and they end up for elimination after Coiny and Pin make their way to the bunk bed. Episode 15 comes around and we lose Ruby. And this episode's challenge will require the characters to form teams of 3. Book teams with Pencil and Needle, TB with Nickel and Fries, and then Bomby with Coiny and Pin. But, oh no, these guys lined up the wrong way. It wasn't supposed to be this way, but this way. So the new teams end up being Pencil, Fries, and Coiny on the hearts, Book, Nickel, and Pin on the stars, and Needle, TB, and Bomby as the quasi-rhombi dodecahedrons. The challenge is to make their way into a tiny birdhouse with only one team being able to win, and that ends up being the Stars. On to episode 16, and the person eliminated ends up being Bomby. The Hearts consider sticking together, but when Coiny brings up that he would want to bring in Pin, yeah, all these teams just end up being deformed. Coiny and Pin are back to Woe Bunch, Fry's on his very own team, TB on Team No Name, Nickel on his very own team, Pencil and Book as Free Smart, and Needle decides that she actually wants to be on both of these teams. Challenge is to pick an item and not have it be tagged by someone on another team. Winner ends up being Nickel. We are jumping into 2015 with episode 17, and the cast are starting to get sick of the LOLers. They try to crush it with Spongy, but since there is a spinning fan on the top, Spongy gets ripped into many, many pieces. You're going over here, buddy. The LOL is still sent away, and now the WTFers are the host. Oh, and, well, let's throw Pencil in there because she got eliminated. I sounded happy, but I really like Pencil, so that's kind of unfortunate. Anyways, Book is now the last person remaining on Free Smart, while Needle decides to team up with Fries, and they form Fry Smart. And Nickel and TV stay on those two teams. But they don't stay in this time period because these two use the yo-yo light to time travel into the future. At this point in the game, everyone has some kind of change in their asset, and today's challenge is to look like your original self. Immunity goes to my faves, and these two return from the future, but they leave the yo-yo light in the future. I really hope that does not end up becoming a problem. 18 commences with the elimination of Nickel, who now joins the WTFers as hosts. And along with Nickel's team being disbanded, so are all the other ones. Even Wobunch, since TB uses his disabandonment token. The challenge is to light up your emblem in the sky. And after not helping her best friend when he needed her help, Pin was able to win immunity. Also, we're not really in the plains anymore. We kind of change biomes every episode. So the final 6 is about to become the final 5. Fries leaves us and gets eliminated. He doesn't really care to host though, so he kind of wanders off, with Gelatin, Pencil, Ruby, and Ice Cube following him. Firey died when trying to chase Fries into some water, and these 5 follow proper BFDIA protocol by staying in the WTF. So we need a new host, and that ends up being the Fish Monster, which Pin fishes out of the water. Tennis Ball uses his universal translator on the Fish Monster, that way Fish Monster can talk in English. And the next challenge is to collect and distribute goods. The first part of this challenge takes place in episode 19, where Needle ends up collecting 10 goods first. And now jumping to the distributing goods part, 2 people end up for elimination. And that is the 2 people that are in the danger zone by the end of the time limit. Coiny and Pin both have a get out of the danger zone ticket, and as they're racing back down from the really weird planet in the Orion Nebula, Coiny decides to get back at Pin. He runs his spaceship into her and they crash. The timer hits 0 and they are both in the danger zone, meaning that they are up for elimination. It's BFDIA 21. This one is a non-competition episode, but we still have cake at stake. Because 2 episodes ago, in episode 19, Fries decided that they should let the viewers vote who gets to be host next. And they start going through the hundreds of characters that were voted on. For some reason, some people voted the number 4. How can the number 4 host a season? Leafy spends the day with Pin, trying to get a yellow tomato so she can turn back into her normal self, since she was metal since she ate yo-yo berries, so that way when she recovers Firey can recognize her. Pin and Coiny have a really wonderful makeup scene, and Leafy recovers Firey. Firey says, "Thank you, stranger," leaving Leafy heartbroken, since she thought she was gonna have her best friend back. Luckily for her though, Leafy is now the host. And in BFDIA 22, we unfortunately see the elimination of Pin once again.
So who's safe then? Is it Coiny or Pin?
It's Coiny.
Phew.
No! Seeing that she can't have the prize, Pin decides to destroy Dream Island. Fortunately, she doesn't destroy it all though, and what is left is the Pin Ooze on Pig Yum. Pin does not end up destroying the whole prize because she goes to save someone's life, and that is the main character of BFDIA, someone who's recovered earlier in this episode who has been dead for 22 episodes, and that is, unfortunately, not Flower Speaker Box, it is Woody. Pin dies saving Woody from falling into lava and gives him her mech suit, and Pin is burned up by the lava. The challenge is to claim the most territory with Leafy. Needle takes Leafy to the core of the earth and is about to win, but the flag cannot be placed into the core. But Tennis Ball drops a drill down the giant hole all the way down to the core of the earth. He doesn't harm Needle though, because the drill ends up killing Leafy. Book thought it was coming for Needle though, so Book jumped all the way down there, got all burned up, died along the way, just for the drill to not even land on Needle. Coiny gets pushed into lava, and with that, Tennis Ball is announced the immunity. So, elimination. Coiny is still like in the magma in the volcano from last episode, so we're just gonna put him over here, away from the others, and Nickel actually takes his place in the elimination. Nickel gets painted like bronze and plays the role of Coiny, which I kind of saw as a good sign while watching the elimination. I'm like, okay, Nickel's gonna play Coiny for the elimination since Coiny's not gonna get out, and then Coiny will take his place back later on in the episode. No! Coiny got out. Coiny got out. The main character. The person who I saw winning this season. I mean, I don't know if it's just me, y'all, but Coiny was giving off crazy main character energy all season. Even think to future seasons, seasons 4 and 5. Coiny loves to talk about BFDIA and how much he loves BFDIA. I thought that Coiny would have been the perfect winner pick. But yeah, Coiny got eliminated. So our final three are Needle, Puck, and Tennis Ball. Now we can go to these guys, the eliminated contestants and Woody. And at the beginning of the episode, we see all the eliminated contestants chasing Woody. And you might be asking why. Well, Woody actually pulled a Leafy and stole Dream Island. I mean, not the season 1 Dream Island. It would be crazy to think that we will ever see that island again, but it is the season 2 Farm Island. Now, before the challenge starts, everyone gets recovered. And we're just gonna move them all here because in this episode, everybody is the host. Like, everyone is the host, from recommended characters to the LOLers to obviously the WTFers, the season 1ers who didn't join, to even Firey Speaker Box, someone who we thought we didn't know the status of from BFDIA 6 all the way to BFB 8 where we see him dead. We actually see Firey Speaker Box in this episode helping out hosting. And we also see Firey. We didn't see him last episode, but we see him in this episode. Him and Leafy do not interact though, because Leafy kind of gets the sense that Firey doesn't want anything to have to do with her. Which actually, yeah, we do see Leafy get recovered in this episode. And she hangs out with Bubble and Flower near the recovery center because this episode they're on recovery duty. But anyways, it is challenge time, baby, and the challenge is to set foot on Dream Island. I thought it was gonna be the season 1 Dream Island, but the status for that is unknown. But Woody and Farm Island are pretty far away because Woody, using Pin's mech suit, was able to create a glass bridge because, lore drop, apparently now sand plus heat equals ice in the BFDI world. Just like how snow plus gasoline equals glue. But yeah, challenge is to cross this glass bridge, get to Woody, and set foot on Dream Island. And along the way, you have the choice of whether you want to do one of the old challenges or not. And this is insane, guys. My theory came true. Get ready for another lore drop. Because when Needle skips Spongy's challenge, he says, "This is why I voted for you." And yeah, I feel like Spongy just flat out said it for us, that he voted a dislike on Needle in this last episode. Meaning that, like I said in my theory when I was explaining it earlier in this video, it's not us humans who are the ones voting in the BFDI universe, but instead the recommended characters. Apparently the eliminated contestants too. I mean, I don't know. Let's get a discussion going about this in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that Spongy just flat out told us how voting in the BFDI universe works, and I was hyped whenever I heard that. But let's just get to the point. So, our final three are at the very end after doing the last challenge. And Needle and TB are really close to setting foot on Farm Island. Because when they confront Woody actually gets scared and like just falls off the glass bridge. So we'll put him under the status unknown. I mean, we'll probably see what happens to him next episode, but as for now, right there. And so these guys start scuffling right in front of the Farm Island, and Book actually is able to catch up, and she joins in too. And this is where Coiny, mad about Book's friendship flag crushing Pin's dead body in the volcano, Coiny comes in with Mech Pin's drill, with that drill that has caused so much havoc in these last couple episodes. And while these three are fighting on the glass bridge right in front of the moon, where we know one is currently in, this is crazy. One is currently in the moon and they're fighting right in front of the moon. But yeah, while they're all scuffling to set foot on Dream Island, Coiny comes in with Mech Pin's drill and aims for Book, but Book finally decides that she does not want to be just destroyed by this drill, and she moves out of the way, and the glass bridge, it shatters. The episode is called Shattered. But Coiny hops back onto the bridge, and these three fall. So on the ground, Book is just covered in like just glass just in her body, so she looks to be dead. So Needle and TV are still fighting over to try and set foot on Dream Island, and that's when we see Book's foot step on to Dream Island, because she was not dead. I mean, she does have a lot of glass coming through her body, but she was able to win. She was finally able to win immunity for herself, which leaves Needle and Tennis Ball to be up for elimination. Uh-oh, we can't do the kick at stake because nobody wants to host anymore. Looks like the final three are gonna have to step up and do hosting duties. In order to host a successful cake at stake, three things need to be done. Needle needs to bake a reasonable cake. TB needs to hold the ceremony where the cake at stake is going to take place. And Book is in charge of collecting all of the votes. In this episode, we get a new name to call the voters, that being The Strange. I'm a little confused if this is referring to the recommended characters in universe or us humans. I mean, I think in a way it's both, because we heard about how Spongy has voted in the show before, and in this episode, Book asks RCs who they voted for, but then it also seems like it's talking about humans, and so this also like confirms and denies my theory that I've been bringing up in this video. I don't know, but point is, Book needs to collect the votes. Book is told by a telephone to follow the twin blue stars, and I'm convinced that the person on the other end of this telephone is announcer, because we know that he's secretly hosting this season in the background. And through a crazy series of events, which includes the final three and Evil Leafy making their way into space, and then Book somehow making it outside of the BFDI universe, Book runs into Jack. And again, this is taking place outside of the BFDI universe. Turns out that Jack is in charge of collecting the votes from the Strange and then giving it to the BFDI host, which begs a whole lot of questions about how have all previous BFDI hosts had to go outside of the BFDI universe to get the votes from Jack? Like, what? But I guess that's how things work in the BFDI universe. And Book is able to get the votes from Jack, and the final three are ready to host the final kick at stake to find out which of these three will be the final two of BFDIA. Evil Leafy got blown up in an oven in this episode, but we're gonna put her under status unknown because she's probably gonna come back next episode. And Coiny Pin, and Woody join all the eliminated contestants for this final Cake at Stake hosted by Tennis Ball. And the person eliminated is none other than himself, Tennis Ball. And that leaves our final two of BFDIA, Book and Needle. So one of these two is gonna win the Pin Ooze on Big Yum Farm Island chunk in the last episode of BFDIA, which at the time that I'm recording this has not actually come out yet. Because in real life, I'm not talking about the show right now, outside of the show, in real life, Season 2 was not completed, and neither was Season 3, but the creators still went on to do Seasons 4 and 5 and 6. So there is a gap in the timeline that the creators are now filling in real time. But as for now, we're still figuring out what happened before Seasons like 4 and 5. We know where the characters end up in like 2017 to 2026, but we don't know what happened in this time period, and that is what the creators are now going back and showing us what happened. So this season takes place in 2016, and at the moment that I'm making this video, there's only one episode out on YouTube. But we can expect that after the creators finish making BFDIA, they're gonna finish Idfb. So this season takes place in Yoil City, something that I really hope they continue on whenever they continue Idfb, because Yoil City is this abandoned huge city that is 2,763 miles long. Like, there is a whole lot of backstory there just waiting to be told. So I really hope we get to spend most of the season here in Yoil City, because in Season 2, when it was introduced, we haven't really spent too much time there. So hopefully they're leaving that for Season 3. But anyways, in this season, all of these characters, all these 40 guys are still inside the locker of losers. I wonder how much time in this video they've been stuck here in the corner. Actually, I wonder how long in this video these guys have been stuck here in the corner. I wonder how far into the video we are. But yeah, so I guess you could say the main characters, the main cast for this season are all the people that were outside of the LOL at the end of BFDIA. So all the WTFers are here, all the dead Season 1ers that were permanently killed at the end of Season 1 and never put into the LOL, they're here. Leafy's here. Even these guys are here, but they don't appear in the first episode. But Profile's there. He's there like in the background. Profile's always been here. But yeah, so in the episode, we get to see all of these characters. We even see Evil Leafy for a split second. So we know that Evil Leafy is still going to have a prominent role in Idfb. I even put Firey here under this paper that says cage, because Firey is being hung from a cage dangling off the Yoil Needy. And Leafy is also here, as we see by the end credits, but she is still kind of isolated, which is why I have her a little distant from the group. And these three characters are characters that we see in the intro, so we know that they're part of the main cast, or more so, I should say, the free cast, but we don't see them appear in the actual episode, so I have them under status unknown.
We're eaten by Gelatin!
But yeah, that's pretty much all we get to see in this quick 10-minute episode. As you notice, I haven't brought up anything about a host, anything about a prize, because interesting thing about this season is that it's a non-competition season, but the viewers are still voting on something, and they're voting on getting a person out of the LOL every episode. So I love the idea of this. At the end of every episode, whoever gets the most votes will be freed from the LOL and joins the free cast. Like, I love this concept. Anyways, it's time for BFB. So we are now in 2017, and everyone who was inside the LOL is now outside, finally. And everyone's just living and having fun in the grasslands. We also don't see Evil Leafy anymore from here on out in the timeline. So maybe at the end of IDFB, we're going to see all the contestants take down Evil Leafy, which is really cool to theorize about. I cannot wait till we see what happens. But yeah, so we have Evil Leafy under the status unknown because we really don't know what happened to her. We don't know until BFDIA and Idfb finish up. But just like at the start of season 2, we actually have some new characters joining the main cast, and 3 of which are already on the board. And that's actually going to be Foldy, Stapy, and Lie. At the start of this season, we see these 3 characters just casually hanging out with the rest of the crew, acting like they've always been there. So hopefully IDFB explains how these 3 came from the real world and ended up hanging out with the rest of the cast. And there's actually one more person who joins the rest of the crew hanging out in the grasslands, and that is the celebrity named Loser. As episode 1 plays out, eventually Flower seeks Black Hole's help in order to help open up her treasure. And then out of nowhere comes a blue hand that shrinks Black Hole down to a smaller size. And that blue hand is 4. So out from space comes these 2 weird alien-like creatures with these weird abilities to just kill the contestants in these weird ways, or do things like floating up in the air. Coiny gets worried because 4 kills Pin. He's like, there's no more recovery centers. What's gonna happen to my girl Pin? So 4 is able to recover the contestants that die. So 4 is like the new recovery center. And maybe this is because maybe 4 has been trying to practice recovering 3. Maybe, just a little idea, little prediction out there. But so the contestants are uncomfortable and they're like, can you leave please? And 4 just like stands there like blankly, and X is here too, 4's best friend. And then 4's like, do you guys want to battle to win a prize? What is the prize? A BFDI! This is a deep fried block of the whole season 1 and 2 footage, and everyone is just obsessed. They all want a BFDI. They want it for themselves. So this is how the next competition ends up starting up. So 4 tells them to form 8 teams of 8. Yeah, that's right, 8 teams of 8. That means that there are 64 people, not counting non-existy, because non-existy doesn't exist. I'm sorry to do this to you, non-existy. I love you, man. I really do. I love you. Trust me. I voted you in BFB 16. So since Loser is like this big celebrity, these people, they're fighting over to be on a team with him. And luckily, it's just 7 people who want to be on the team with him, which is the perfect amount. And those people end up being Firey, Coiny, Eggy, Cake, Clock, Pin, and Needle. Basketball wants to have a team of all balls, so she recruits these 4. But Snowball does not want to be on a team with these weak, armless losers. Grassy asks Basketball to be picked since no one picked him. And Golfball recruits Robot Flower and also TV because according to her, they need to have some mechanical minds on their team to outnumber the other teams that don't have mechanical minds. Once Grassy says that their team is bound to do a lot of funny doings, Blocky says that is the team for him. Snowball wants a killer on his team, so he recruits Lightning, who has killed sadly dozens. And they also take in Fanny for her killer attitude. Who Snowball doesn't take in though is Pie, because Pie has never killed anyone before. And Lie, Black Hole, Bottle, and Tree all join her team because they want to learn how to not kill. Pillow hears the word killing though, and she wants to join that team. Now what you're about to hear is crazy. The Alliance figures that they're going to stick together, but no. Book actually says that this team, and the Alliance, is unhealthy for her and Ice Cube, and she doesn't want to be a part of that environment. Now, this is like surprising because in BFDIA, like the Alliance, they seem so like happy together and everything. But so far in BFB, we've kind of seen Match and Pencil be like mean. So maybe it's that when these two are together, they just like are not a good influence on each other, and like that affects other people. But yeah, the Alliance is no longer really like a friend group, but instead it's just dominated by like Pencil and Match, and whoever's in the Alliance has to do what they want. But yeah, so Book and Ice Cube are no longer a part of the Alliance, and it's only these four now. Ruby did call Flower beautiful though, which makes Flower want to be on Ruby's team. She also wants to be on Snowball's team so he can beat people up for her. So she decides to merge teams. Now Leafy is determined to help anyone that she thinks needs a helping hand. And those people end up being Cloudy, David, Roboty, Nickel, Woody, Rocky, and Balloony, who does not feel like he needs a helping hand, but he still joins. Now Yellowface must be the master of persuasion because he gets Belle, Foldy, Stapy, Marker, Fries, Puffball, and Eraser to join his team. Next team is Spongy, Firey Jr., Bomby, Barf, Donut, Gelatin, and Naily. Book kind of takes charge and forms a team. Of course, he's gonna have Ice Cube, Teardrop, Lollipop, Taco, Gaty, Saw, and Dora. Bracelety is so happy to join her idol Ice Cube's team because Bracelety is like obsessed with Ice Cube, but this team already has 8 members. Luckily for her, these guys take her in. Remote joins over here, and they take in Pen, who is the last one to be picked. And holy moly, these guys took up so much space on the board, but these are the new teams. And now it's time to make their team names. These guys are all trying to decide, and that's when Bracelety screams,
I skip all the way! Yay!
Eraser joined this team for free food, and he asks Yellowface, where's the free food? And Yellowface goes, free food! These guys, all adoring Loser, decide to go with the Losers. Since these guys formed to prevent death, they go with the Death Pact. And that's when Golf Ball demands that their team must have a better name than that. Free Smarts decides to go with the Alliance, but Snowball points out that they're not all a part of the Alliance. And so Fanny says if you take the all out of Alliance, you get... It's pronounced Ions. And 4 asks these guys what's their name, and they all say their name at once. So we'll refer to them as Bleh or 8 names. And finally, these guys, they come up with the best name ever. So they whisper to Roboty, and they tell Roboty to go tell 4 their team name. And Roboty tells 4. But Roboty speaks in Morse code, so their team is Beep. But yeah, those are all the 8 teams for this season. We have Team Bleh, Death Pact, Free Food, Team Ice Cube, Team Beep. We got Ions. We got a better name than that, and the Losers. Oh my goodness. These guys are filling up every inch of the board. We need to start getting some eliminations. This episode's challenge is to recover X's baskets, and the last team to not do so is Ions. So Ions gets put up for elimination. It's time for Cake at Stake! And because of how she acted, Pencil is the first one who gets sent there. This is really surprising for like her character because as I said, in the timeline wise, Pencil is like really fun and nice in BFDIA. So I really wonder if we'll hopefully see her slowly switch in Idfb and we'll end up seeing the mean Pencil that we see in 2017. But so at this point, exactly 8 characters are dead and everyone is bugging 4 to recover them. 4 angrily puts the 8 characters, he recovers them, but puts them into a bunch of jawbreakers, and the challenge is to lick the jawbreakers to free the dead people. And Beep is the team that ends up coming in last place. But interesting thing to notice is that they don't finish licking their jawbreaker since they lost. They give up. And the person in there is actually Taco. So Taco is now left in that jawbreaker. We'll have to see how long it takes for her to get out of there. It's time for episode 3, and since she was being a little too bossy with her team, Leafy is the one who ends up getting eliminated. Oh, and I forgot to say, the exit is inside of 4, so you get sucked up into 4 if you get eliminated. And interesting thing to note is that there's someone else on the board who is also inside of 4. So let me actually fix up the 4 lore here, and we'll put 3 over here since she is in 4 as well. While they're also in 4's dimension, they're not in the same location, so they're not over here casually talking to 3. The contest in this episode is to swing 50 times on a swing, a giant swing. This season has some pretty creative challenges. But unfortunately, Team Ice Cube is the one that ends up coming in last place. And the reason I say unfortunately is because Bracelety leaves. What an underrated character. Anyways, this episode is a very special episode because it's episode 4. And this episode's challenge is to depict 4 in some way. And because Penn decides to depict 4 like that, instead of like that in the piece of paper, his team is UFE. And also on Team Ble over here, everyone doesn't like Taco anymore because Taco broke out of the jawbreaker at the end of last episode, but everyone thinks that Taco abandoned them. It's actually Book who starts this, so she goes from kind of being like a team leader in episode 1 to just antagonizing Taco. So everyone is just over here eye-rolling that Taco broke out of the jawbreaker because in their mind, Taco abandoned them. And we are jumping years again because now with episode 5, we are in 2018. And in this episode, Lai is eliminated, unfortunately, because she just joined the show. We barely got to know her. But whenever she is about to get sucked up, she flips her switch because on the other side, she has the switch that we saw in the real life world. Anyways, this episode's challenge is to stay on your paper airplane. Do not fall and touch the ground, and it goes by really fast, and Beef is up for elimination once again. But this is where something really crazy happens. During the cake at stake of this episode, Team A Better Name Than That devises a plan to get rid of 4, because everyone's starting to get sick of 4. 4 is killing the contestants just for fun, just because it pleases him, and they want to get rid of 4 because 4 is over here killing them and stuff. So they devise this plan to times 4 with X by 0 or donut. So right before 4 is about to kill someone, Team A Better Name Than That on a sled sliding down from a hill is able to multiply 4 by 0, and that leads there to be no 4. So 4 is now located inside of Donut, and that leaves Donut to take over as the host. TV calculates the votes, and Roboty is eliminated. But since 4 is not around, Roboty decides to just go to his waterfall. So Roboty's going to be down there chilling in his waterfall because no one can be sent to the exit without 4 around. This episode's challenge is like a visual tag. Basically, someone will have the twinkle, which is they're going to be lit up. They're going to be shining brightly. And if someone looks at them, then they get that twinkle effect onto them. So to escape the twinkle, A Better Name Than That uses Golf Ball's rocket ship to fly onto the moon. But Team 8 Names grabs on to the rocket and they also end up on the moon. So now these two teams, these guys are all on the moon. And oh my goodness, crazy. This is where my fanboy comes in, because guess who's in the moon at this time? These guys are on the moon. And what is in the moon? Like these guys are all standing on top of one. Like one can probably hear them. It's crazy. That is insane. But actually, before they make it on the moon, Taco lets go of the rocket and she goes back onto Earth. And of course, Book is like, oh, Taco abandoned us again. But no, Taco has a strategy. She flirts with Belle, and she goes, Belle, isn't it a beautiful night out? And then Belle's like, oh, Taco, like no joke, like she straight up like flirts with her. And Belle gets the twinkle. And then the losers who are hiding in one of X's baskets, Belle crashes into the basket and Clock gets the twinkle, and their team goes UFE. The voters end up voting off Loser. Since there's no 4 to send him to the exit though, we're just gonna put Loser up here with these guys who are also somewhere in the BFDI world. Basically, no one wants the Loser ball. Everyone is fighting around like, get it away from me, get it away from me. So Donut makes 8 holes, and the challenge is to not get Loser dropped into your hole. Protect your hole. But these guys are in space. What would they do? They hack remote, and they have remote like protect their holes. But crazy thing is that remote is somehow able to get access of herself again, and she sends them a bomb. Remote, who's on Team Death Pack, they are trying to prevent death and create trust, and she sends a bomb to them. And Robot Flower is the one who's like controlling the hacked remote. And the bomb, like, it would kill all these guys instantly, but Robot Flower does not want to let that happen. So Robot Flower closes the connection, and Team Death Pack ends up getting a Loser ball in a better name than Bat's hole. So they are UFE. Ooh, this episode's got a lot, guys. You're in for a good one. We start off with Gelatin pointing out that Fries' fries are looking a little gross. Like, there's like this yellow stuff sticking out of Fries' fries. So, elimination time, it's cake at stake. But since these guys are in the moon, how is Donut gonna host cake at stake? Well, Donut has a camera, and through TV, Donut shows up on TV and is gonna host the elimination. But Donut's arms like go through TV because it's a new feature of his camera, which can transmit matter, but like it's like a one-time thing. So Donut's hands are now stuck on like the other side, like on the moon side. And Donut's like, well, the only way to unite like the Earth and the moon is to put the Earth through his camera and get it on the moon. So that's what Donut does, and like it's crazy. But so now the Earth and the moon are connected. The moon is on the Earth. And I told y'all that this episode is jam-packed because we still can't even start the elimination. Because I gotta tell you guys about what the prize is, what the Cake at Stake prize is this episode. And it is Firey speaker box chopped up into 7 pieces, which we can assume this is payback from when Firey speaker box chopped up Donut in BFDIA 5. But so we can finally get to the elimination, and the person eliminated is Donut on the 8th episode, his favorite number. And as punishment, 8-Ball gets crushed by the moon when Donut turns gravity back on just with a snap of his fingers because he has the power of 4 within him. And yeah, 8-Ball just gets crushed. So 8-Ball is going to go in the dead section because, again, 4 is not here to put him into the exit. And when 8-Ball dies, these like fumes come out and they are inhaled by, where is she? There she is. Saw. Saw inhales these eight fumes, we'll call them, because in this episode now, she uncontrollably now starts shouting 8 The contest today, though, is a quiz. Each team has one person competing for them. Saw is competing for Team 8 names, and she keeps getting the questions wrong because whenever she tries to say the answer, all that comes out of her mouth is 8. She just keeps screaming out 8. So they're doing the challenge. The team is safe if they get a question right. And Donut asks, what is the past tense of eat? And then Saw presses 8 ball, presses the button, and she says 8. And then it's right. A lot of people hate this joke, but I love the 8 shouting. It's so funny. That leaves Ions and Free Food. The last one's in the challenge. Stapy, with the help of Puffball, makes a fake buzzer. And when Bubble knows the answer to one of the questions, she's trying to press the buzzer, but it's the fake buzzer that Puffball and Stapy planted. So, Ions loses. But no, Matt shows the footage, shows Donut that Free Food cheated, and Free Food is UFE. So I realized that the board was getting really cluttered. For example, like we have 8 teams here, and then we have all of this stuff going on too. I just wanted to take a second to fix it up to make everything seem more like readable, more easy to understand. But before we get to the kick at stake, we have a little change to make, and that is that Saw here, she disappears after BFB 8. Because like I said, for the next couple episodes, Saw's just like disappeared. We have no idea where she is. So she's here in status unknown. And another interruption before the kick at stake is we find out what is going on with Fries' fries, because turns out it is X. X pops out of Fries and tells the whole cast that they never like disappeared when 4 got multiplied. They ran away because they were scared. So yeah, Donut, where's Donut? Donut's not here in Team Ice Cube, but he will be in a second because X takes over as host. Now it's time for Kick at Stake, and since X is a little new to this, they kind of mess up the vote reading. Because instead of going from first safe to eliminated, X starts off with the person eliminated, and it is Stapy. This episode's challenge is to throw balls into X's baskets, which will make them fall and land on the team buzzers. And the team up for elimination this episode ends up being Beep. And the person eliminated is David, who got the most votes. Going up here, buddy, but you will not be there for long. And that is because the contestants point out that without 4, there's no prize, because 4 had the prize. So without 4, they're battling for nothing. This causes all the contestants to go crazy, and they want to bring back 4. And in the middle of all this craziness, everybody trying to bring 4 back in their own way, Firey grabs a syringe and pulls 4 out of Donut. So 4 is no longer inside of Donut, but his like liquidy body is in this syringe. And they need someone to squirt it out in the shape of 4. And Coiny grabs Pin by the hand, and he's like, I know you'll do a great job. And Coiny is like, Pin should be the one to squirt 4 out into the shape of 4. And it works. And 4 is now back. A little less like malicious too, which is interesting. And now that 4 is back, our exit class is gonna get a little larger. In comes David, Stapy, Loser, and Roboty. And surprise, one of these guys is actually going to join back into the game in episode 11. But before we get to the rejoin, we have to move Clock into the dead area. Because sometime between episodes 10 and 11, 4 kills Clock off screen because Clock talked back to him last episode. And the person who rejoins is between Loser and Leafy, and it ends up being Leafy. And she joins the Losers in exchange for the token that Pin got last episode. So now Leafy and Firey are on the same team. And if you guys do not remember, these two used to be friends until all that drama happened with Leafy stealing Dream Island and Firey recovering Leafy and then pretending not to know her. So there is still like this awkward tension in the air. So we might see that finally get resolved soon. But today's challenge is to get to the top of this staircase. Each team has one person competing, and the last person to get to the top will put their team up for elimination. And Flower decides to participate for Ions because she's on like a redemption arc this season. If you guys remember, she was a menace in season 1, being responsible for the destruction of all the recovery centers and the permanent deaths of some people. But now in this season, we've seen her try to be a better person. And when she's about to press the buzzer, Foldy knocks her off because she says that Ions is responsible for Stampy's elimination, who is her best friend. And so Ions gets put up for elimination. But it is not her who ends up getting eliminated, and instead Match, because of how she has been treating Bubble in the last couple episodes. And before the challenge starts, 4 tells losers that they have a dead contestant, and none of them are able to remember who it is. So apparently Glog was just extremely irrelevant to them. But 4 says that he will not recover Clock until they can tell him who is like missing from their team. But since they can't remember, guess he's gonna stay dead. And so the challenge is that 4 is going to take the mind of one person from each team and put them in the body of someone from a different team. And the team needs to try and figure out who is the imposter. And Team Ice Cube is not able to find out that Spongy was not Spongy. And rightfully, the real Spongy is like hurt by this. He's upset that none of his team was able to tell that he wasn't himself, that someone else was in his body. And with episode 13, we're going to be jumping to 2019 because a new episode did not come out for a whole year. Yeah, that's right. This is taking place a whole year after the last episode. But so Firey Jr. is eliminated with exactly 10,000 votes. What are the odds? Everyone on his team is kind of mean. They're like this is kind of deserved, and it's crazy because like Firey Jr. didn't really do anything wrong except for being a little sassy last episode, and rightfully so. He's like, you guys are all a piece of garbage. And crazy news, Saw comes back in this episode. She tells us that she has been on a scent cleanse, trying to push the good smells in and the bad smells out. Since if you remember, she was uncontrollably shouting 8 a couple episodes ago. And now she doesn't do that anymore. But she still shouts 8 when she's using a word that has 8 in it. For example, she's like, "Hi, Gaty!" And Book, who got onto Taco for abandoning the team and who's still like shunning Taco, Book now gets onto Saw. And she's like, "You abandoned us!" And then Saw's like, "I didn't abandon you guys. I just came back late." I love Saw. But so, this episode's challenge is for each team to recover one of X's, not Infinity Stones. What am I talking about? This isn't Marvel. Sorry, y'all, my girlfriend has gotten me into Marvel. I've never seen the Marvel movies before, and I'm obsessed with it. But we're getting really off topic. The challenge is to recover some of X's emeralds that they have lost underground, and each team needs to recover an emerald to be safe. And this challenge actually goes on into episode 14. It is a 2-parter, but this time it's not 13A and B, but instead we're hopping into episode 14. A lot of hijinks happens in between these 2 episodes, but probably the biggest thing is that Team Ice Cube here digs into a buried forest, deciduously insulated, otherwise known as an inverted planet. And in this inverted planet is a hot spring. And Spongy sees his teammates having fun, hanging out in the hot spring, and Spongy wants to join in too. So Spongy starts to jump in, having fun, cannonball. And it's like, okay, Spongy, but Spongy starts to form cracks under the hot spring. Like cracks start to form in the ground, and unfortunately for them, there is a volcano right next to them, and Spongy can never get a break. Spongy ends up being responsible for lava starting to come out of the hot spring and eventually flood all the tunnels and make it up to the surface, and basically a lot of the contestants die, and it's all because of Spongy. This guy. I mean, first his team forgot him last episode, and now he causes the death of almost the whole BFD cast. But not everyone, because each team has about like one person still alive, and on Team B, that person is Woody. Now, Woody, who was in Golf Ball's factory, is able to go through the garbage chute, which somehow not only leads him to fly through Roboty's waterfall, but also leads him to fly through the real world where the BFDI episode took place, and I have no idea how he made it there. And also, he ends up at the end, like really tiny, in 4's eye, with an emerald, which ends up making his team safe. But what is the anatomy of 4? How is the real world tying into this? And more importantly, why did we not see Hello Kevin in the real world? Like, I mean, should I just take him off the board at this point? Finally, the only team to never be up for elimination, Filet, is put up for elimination in this episode. And just in time too, because in this episode, we see Buck save Taco and Ice Cube, who, forgot to mention this, Ice Cube does not want anything to have to do with Buck anymore because of how Buck's been acting. Buck saves both of them from lava, so perfect timing. Just as Blaze up for elimination, Buck starts to become a good person again, and that leads Buck not to be eliminated, but instead, Dora is eliminated from 8 names. And the challenge this time is that the remaining contestants that are alive on each team need to make their way back to 4. And it is Team Ice Cube who gets put up for elimination in this episode. But the episode is not over yet, because 4 decides to recover Clock. So Clock, who was dead for, I believe, about like a year and a half, is finally recovered, and they didn't even remember. 4 just decided to recover Clock. Oh my goodness. Am I ready to talk about this episode? Am I ready to talk about BFB 16? Let's do it. Let's do it. This episode starts off with the Exiters trying to escape after Loser finally makes it out of the loser ball. Spongy, who has become more mean in a recent episode, gets eliminated. But 4 is struggling with sucking Spongy up. The Exiters, who made a stack inside of 4 to try and get out, see this as the perfect opportunity to climb through Spongy to get out, and Loser is the only one who ends up escaping. And for some dumb reason, I don't understand this, all the contestants who are now recovered decide to stand up for their fellow contestants and help pull Spongy like out of 4, which doesn't make sense because Spongy's not even a fellow contestant, he's an eliminated contestant, and this is the whole purpose of the game, but it's just dumb. But this whole episode is dumb. You'll see why. Out from space. Yeah, that's right. Out from space, one of the algebraliens come to Earth, and that is 2. 2 comes onto Earth and tells the contestants, are you guys tired of battling for a dumb prize? And then 2 goes ahead and shows them their power. The power that they received back at the beginning of this bulletin board video when we went over the numbers backstory. 2 offers that exact power as the prize for the competition that they are hosting. And this is where the show actually splits into 2 shows, into 2 different competitions, because 2 comes in and takes more than half of 4's contestants. The people who end up leaving 4's show for 2's show is Bomby, Barf Bag, Donut, Fries, Marker, Basketball, Tennis Ball, Foldy, Saw, Gaty, TV, Pen, Puffball, Golf Ball, Naily, Grassy, Eraser, Fanny, Book, Pie, Pin, Needy, Coiny, Tree, Yellowface, Bell, Robot Flower, Nickel, Rocky, Black Hole, Remote, Ice Cube, Cake, Bottle, Lightning, Clock, Cloudy, Snowball, Pillow, and Eggy. Yup, that's right. 40 people just left BFB to compete in 2's show, titled The Power of 2. And not just them, but also X stays behind with 2. Stays behind in the grasslands, because 2 is just like, 4, you and your gang, y'all gotta go somewhere else, which is insane because episode 1, 4 would not take this. And 2 sends all these guys to the Pillory Ruins. And I forgot to mention that in a desperate attempt to try and keep some of his contestants, 4 replaces the prize. He replaces the BFDI with a BFB. Before we hop into post-lit though, we still have to cover something that happens with the Exiters, because timeline-wise, this event happens now, which is that these guys start their next plan to try and escape the exit, and that is to try and go through this door that's in the exit that they don't know what it leads to. And when they open it, this alarm goes off in the exit, and 4 goes inside of himself, because I forgot to mention that the algebraliens who have a dimension in them, they can actually like be inside of the dimension. So 4 is in there, and he is upset because this is supposed to be eternal algebra class. So 4 is able to stop Roboty from leaving the exit, but these 9 exiters are able to go through the door and get it shut. And what they see is a whole school. They're in a whole school inside of 4. We already know that there's a whole world inside of 4 because, as we know, 3 is inside a castle, but this is like a crazy discovery for these guys. And after a little walking, they see that there's even more. They see a waterfall, a forest, and the castle. So they decide to split up into 3 groups of 3. That way they can search for to try and find an exit. So I'll tell you what those groups are. Stapy, Lie, and Match, they try to swim a waterfall to get to the castle. Dora, 8-Ball, and Firey Jr. head towards the forest. And Pencil, David, and Bracelety decide to search the classrooms. All these people end up spending the next 4 years inside of 4 doing the same activity. So it's crazy to think about. For 4 years, these 3 are searching the classrooms. For 4 years, these 3 are trying to swim up a waterfall. That is insane. For 4 years. And then for 4 years, these guys were in the forest. Season 4B, here we go. So 4 decides to split the 14 remaining contestants on 2 teams of 7 based on their color, if it's closer to 4 or closer to X. On the 4-color team is Leafy, Balloony, Bubble, Ruby, TD, Lollipop, and Gelatin, which leaves Taco, Flower, Firey, Blocky, Spongy, Woody, and Loser on the X-colored team. And this episode's contest is to get X back from 2. And they are safe, meaning the 4s are up for elimination. The elimination place for this season is the BRB. And the first one sent there is Balloony, because the voting style changed. I forgot to tell y'all. Now, instead of the viewers voting to eliminate, the viewers are voting to save. They're voting to save their favorite character. So, for example, here, I probably would have voted for Bubble, and my girlfriend would have probably also voted for Bubble.
Yep.
Since Balloony is up against all these fan favorites, of course Balloony's gonna get the least amount of votes. And bro is sent to the BRB. Bro should have joined TPOT. This episode's challenge is to protect your tower from the other team. The Xers lose. Their tower is completely destroyed, and since their tower was completely destroyed, they are the have-nots. And since Team 4 still has their tower, they are the have-cots. I told y'all, this guy cannot get a break. Spongy gets the least amount of save votes. Mind you, this dude was just eliminated like 2 episodes ago, and bro gets eliminated again. My goodness, y'all, I am slacking. I forgot to mention 2 episodes ago when 4 was trying to get X back, nobody wanted to help 4. And that's when 4 decided to add back the BFDI as a prize. So now the winner will not only receive a BFDI, but they'll also receive a BFB. But anyways, this episode's challenge is to help X's aloe vera garden grow, and have-nots win this one. Have-Cots, person eliminated is Ruby, and the challenge is to help cool down X, and Have-Cots win, Have-Nots are UFE. The next person eliminated is Loser, a character that had no reason to rejoin the show if the whole reason for the split was to try and end the show quickly. Why bring back 2 characters? It's especially dumb too, since they got eliminated right away. But today's challenge is to have 3 people from each team go to Yellowface's warehouse to get some gifts for the other 2 people on the team. Based on how well they like their gift, that would determine who would be up for elimination, whichever team could make their members the happiest. There's a storyline going on with like Blocky being mean to Woody, and then Taco trying to get Blocky to like be a nicer person and stuff, and they decide to give a box to Woody, but this infuriates Woody because they give him the box as like a shelter since he's scared of everything, but I guess he wants to be seen as braver? We also see a little hint of the BFDI in Yellowface's warehouse, so we finally get to see a glimpse of Purpleface. And the winning team ends up being the Have-Cots for a second time in a row, leaving the Have-Nots UFE. The final 2 at this kick at stake are Flower and Taco, having only a 1 vote difference, which is just crazy. And the person eliminated ends up being Taco, again by only 1 vote. This episode's contest is like a court case because Donut's diary has gone missing and one of these people have stolen it. There's a lot of character stuff this episode, like Woody pulling a prank, so Blocky starting to like Woody. There's also Gelatin and Lollipop who form the newbie alliance since everyone else in the cast are vets and they're the newbies. And then the biggest thing is between Firey and Leafy. Firey keeps making these comments about Leafy that like Leafy stole Dream Island, and they end up having a talk outside where they finally resolve their, how many years has it been? Their 8-year storyline? That is insane! But so Leafy finally apologizes for stealing his prize all that time ago. And Firey also apologizes for how he's acted towards Leafy, ignoring her, all that stuff. And they make up. They go in for a hug, and Firey burns Leafy to a crisp. Have-Cots lose the court case challenge, and they are UFE. And unfortunately, Bubble is eliminated at Cake at Stake. She was doing really good this season too. Felt like she was season 1 Bubble again. But of course, she had to be killed off at the beginning of last episode, which gave her 0 screen time, and that resulted in these guys getting all the votes, which sucks. Today's challenge is to get 4 out of a jail cell, and the Have-Cots decide to go to Yellowface's factory to try and get materials to break 4 free. And during this, we see the Beryllium Fortress destruction impossible, and after 7 years, Purpleface breaks out of it. Purpleface is finally free. Poor guy has been in that box for like the past hour of this video, but he is free now, and he eats the Have-Cots. I guess he was really hungry in there. Poor guy. Have-Cots still end up winning though. Have-Nots lose. In this episode, we have a new person hosting the Cake at Stake, and that is Purpleface, who from here on out is just kind of gonna be hanging out with the contestants. Bro just wants to be included. But so, Purpleface hosts his Cake at Stake, and Blocky is eliminated. Luckily for Woody, him and Blocky became friends before Blocky left though. So, Woody has a friend. Anyways, now they hit the merge. No more Have-Nots, no more Have-Cots. It is now every person for themselves, and this episode's challenge is to throw for a party. 3 people end up winning immunity, and that ends up being Gelatin, Flower, and Lollipop. And the person eliminated is, you know what, I'll give you a hint. The person eliminated is a Season 1 veteran. That's all of them. The person eliminated competed in Season 2. That's 2 of them. Person eliminated is Firey, the winner of Season 1. Thank goodness we got a resolution to his and Leafy's storyline. Today's contest is to find a blessed totem in a temple in the Pillory Ruins. And of course, Purpleface finds a way to include himself in this episode as the temple tour guide. And immunity goes to TD and Flower. Episode 26 and Woody's gonna BRB. Now we're down to the final 5, folks. Oh yeah, you're right. We're down to the final 6. How could I forget about profiling? 4 is confused about who the heck this guy is, but Profiling claims to have been here all along. And if you rewind the video, you will notice that Profiling has been here all along. He's been in the competition. It just seems like 4 just didn't see him, but Profiling claims to have been here since Season 1. He claims to have competed in Season 1, in Season 2, and in Season 4. 4 is not putting up with this, and he makes the challenge to eliminate Profiling. Leafy was the one who ended up bringing Profiling up there, so she wins immunity. 4 is so done with all the randos in the Pillory Ruins who keep affecting the show. So he puts the cast into an RV, and they start driving for the desert. But of course, Purpleface is there. He's hiding on top of the RV because always gonna be there. And lucky Purpleface, because in episode 27, he gets promoted to co-host. He is now X's co-host. And the person eliminated is Lollipop. The challenge this episode is to escape the world's largest oven, with the winner being Teardrop. Now, before we get to episode 28, guys, I have something crazy to tell you. At the end of episode 27, while the contestants and the hosts are in the RV driving through the desert, they hear this weird noise. They don't know what it is yet, but that is Announcer coming back to Earth. Yeah, that's right. Announcer is now back on Earth, so we'll put him up here. We'll leave him there until he reveals himself to the contestants, which is literally going to be right now at the beginning of episode 28. Announcer reveals himself to the cast and the hosts and says that he's ready to take the show back. 4 and X put up a little bit of a fight, but the announcer calls them out on how bad of hosts they've been. He talks about how X literally quit hosting for a round, how they can't seem to get rid of Purpleface, or even how more than half of 4's contestants just quit the show. 4 panics, and the thing that he comes up with is to sink into the ground to become the desert. That way he's still a part of the show somehow. And the announcer is the new host. But so, who's gonna be eliminated? Will it be Gelatin, the comedic relief? Will it be Flower, the one who's been on this whole redemption arc all season? Or will it be Leafy, who has been a pretty flawless character until last episode, where the writers decided to give her a bunch of flaws, probably in the hopes that she doesn't receive enough save votes and ends up getting eliminated? So we are now at final 3, TD, Flower, and Gelatin. And the final challenge, just like season 1's last challenge, is to complete all the challenges again. And immunity goes to Flower. And one thing I'd like to point out is that we see Announcer just spending the budget like it's nothing. One of the biggest things he does is give Flower $50,000 just because. Speaking of which, can we get to 50,000 subscribers? Oh man, I didn't even plan that. That was good. If y'all watched up to this point, please consider subscribing and liking. Let's get back to the video. Oh man, I made a mistake, y'all. I made a mistake. I thought I've been doing a good job at changing the episode number every single time, but I forgot to change the year for this episode. So we're now in 2021. Luckily, we've only been in 2021 for episode 28. And since I still got 28 up there, let's just say I didn't make a mistake. Episode 29 time. The third placer for this season is gonna be Teardrop. But she does not get sent to BRB because the eliminated contestants were taken out of the cages on top of the big rotating building last episode to help with the challenge. So now everyone is free. But bad news, y'all. BFB is canceled. The budget has been completely spent. And announcer is just like, oh well. And so the final two and the eliminated contestants, they're like, we gotta raise money for the show. And they try to recruit X for help, but X says that they will not help them since they all got rid of 4. So that leaves us with Purpleface as the solo host for this episode. And Purpleface is gonna try to help the contestants raise money to save the show. Taco, though, she decides to find announcer because she thinks that something is off. She thinks that he might have spent the budget on purpose. So she interrogates him. She demands answers, and so the announcer spills it. He tells her about how he was hosting season 2 the whole time, even though he was doing it from the background. And he tells her how he was just hanging out in his home planet when he saw something on the TV. He saw Foreign X hosting a show, offering up his BFDI as a prize, and he says that this was going too far. His beloved BFDI, his life's work, and it was just being offered by these two. So he was waiting for his chance to come back on Earth, take the show back so he can have his BFDI. And so, as the episode's about to end, the budget is completely ran out. The art style ends up changing and it's getting worse and worse until they realize that Flower still has that $50,000 that she got from announcer last episode. She pushes back on it, but then she decides to use it to put it in the budget and save the show. I wonder who's gonna win. So now that the show's back, the announcer begrudgingly needs to continue hosting it with his treasured BFDI as the prize. He's annoyed about this, but he's trying not to show it off. And so the viewers can now vote either Gelatin or Flower to win BFB. Y'all, we are now at the final episode of BFB and we are about to find out who the winner is. Well, I say that as if you guys don't already know. But for the one person out there, for my dad who's watching this video who has not seen this show, I'll make it suspenseful. Who is it gonna be? Is it gonna be Gelatin? Or is it gonna be Flower? The winner is Flower! She won! Going from first eliminated in BFDI to the winner of BFB. Woo! That means our winners are Firey for season 1, Coiny, who better win season 2, and Flower for season 4. Flower, who was once a menace to society, a killer, a destroyer of recovery centers, has come a long way. A long way, far enough actually, that she actually gives up one of her prizes. She gives up the BFB to Gelatin because she knows how badly he wanted it, and she realizes that she would have been happy if Gelatin won. She would have been happy either way. But she's ready to receive the BFDI from the announcer, but when he's giving it to her, he won't let go. He says that it's his. And that's when Purpleface swoops in, takes the BFDI, and says, no, the BFDI is mine. So Purpleface starts to run with it, and Flower and the announcer start to chase him, both screaming that the BFDI is theirs. And that's also when Taco, Blocky, Firey, Leafy, and Woody also start running after them to help Flower receive her prize. And they all run towards the RV where Spongy is just hanging out in. And when 4 starts heading back to the Pillory Ruins wanting to be left alone, that's when X recruits the rest of the cast to help them get back 4. Going back over here, everyone starts fighting for the BFDI. Everyone wants it, even though technically it's rightfully Flower's. They all realize how dumb they're being though, and that leaves these 3. Purpleface says he deserves the prize since no one respects him. And that's when Flower gives him a heartfelt speech about how he's an integral part to the show and how she likes him being here, being with them, and how no one has questioned why Purpleface is there because they like him. And this really does mean a lot to him, and Purpleface stops trying to steal the prize, which leaves Flower and Speaker Box. The announcer reveals to us why he wants the BFDI so bad. It's because it's the last copy of seasons 1 and 2 on Earth. And, well, Flower tells him that he can keep it. She says that he deserves it, that it rightfully belongs to him. And she says that hearing Purpleface say that she's changed and has really came a long way, that is worth the win in itself. Back to these guys, Ford literally becomes the sun and everyone ends up on the sun. Ford yells about wanting to be left alone and how they didn't want him as the host. So why are you following me? Leave me alone. And that's when Gelatin stands up to him. Gelatin talks about how they're mad at Ford, and that's why they don't treat him well, because he doesn't treat them well to begin with. Gelatin says how Ford just kills them for fun or locks them up in spinning cages, and Gelatin just calls out Ford on everything he's done. He tells Ford that they stayed, that they didn't leave to go to 2's show. They stayed because they liked Ford. But Ford needs to start treating them better. And after they tell him how much he means to them, how they do like him, and how they use the BFB to show Ford that they've had fun this season, Ford is now happy. And everyone ends up back in the desert, where Profiling, along with these guys, set up a party for Ford to show how much he means to them. And everything is all sunshines and rainbows by the end of this. But there are a couple of things to take note though. Firey and Leafy sail off into the ocean to try and find a new dream island. Because the real dream island, well, the status is unknown. Again, we do know that Leafy has it in BFDIA 22, but something happens where she doesn't have access to it anymore. So until we find out what happened to Dream Island, it's going to be in the status unknown section with Evil Leafy, since we also don't know what happened to Evil Leafy between BFDIA and BFB. Now, Profiley, Teardrop, and Balloony plan to head towards the grasslands to try and get TD and Balloony into TPOT. Balloony says, "Hey guys, give me a second though, let me say my goodbyes." But instead of getting in the helicopter, Balloony accidentally gets into the announcer transportation device. And while I would love to put him in the announcer here in the announcer's home section, we don't know that exactly for sure, so I'm going to put them both down here in somewhere in space. And man, I just realized, bro has been in space for the last 4 years. What happened to Balloony and announcer? See, yeah, I was going to put them in here, but then I thought, man, did something happen to them in space? Did something bad happen to them? Because you'd think that Balloony would somehow make it back to Earth. So yeah, they're going to be down here in the somewhere in space section because we do not know their exact whereabouts in space by 2025. So they're going down there. And now we can finally hop into the Power of Two, the final season up to date. But unfortunately, we're going to have to make some more space on the board, which means that we're going to have to get rid of something. And I do see something that's taking up a lot of room. So just like Hello Kevin, these guys who aren't as important are going to be leaving the board. New season, new location, new host, new prize. This is the Power of Two. We moved the BFBers over here and Firey and Leafy down here. But before we get into the teams for this season, we actually have to get to the debut. I didn't bring this up because I didn't want to add 26 new people onto the board, but basically at the end of BFB 16, there was an opportunity for one fan to join TPOT. The viewers gotta vote one of these following contestants to join TPOT. Boom Mic, non-existy, Tape, Clapboard, Avocado, Winner, Onigiri, Shopping Cart, Income Tax Return Document, VHSy, Conch Shell, Snare Drum, Camera, 9-Ball, Price Tag, Anchor, Blender, Leek, Discy, Salt Lamp, PDA, Kitchen Sink, Battery, Scissors, Rubber Spatula, and Shampoo. And the person who ended up joining the show is Winner! Winner fittingly wins. But 4 points out that there's 41 contestants, meaning that they wouldn't be able to divide up the teams evenly. Meaning that the second placer is gonna have to join the show. And that is non-existy. No way, but apparently non-existy doesn't count because he doesn't exist. Like what? Why put him up for voting then? I was a non-existy voter, but I guess third place is join instead. Welcome, Price Tag. So here's our cast, our 42 contestants, and now it is time for them to pick teams. So I'm gonna take all these guys off the board just for a second, and then we'll put them back on after. Donut and Barf Bag decide to stick together, and Coiny sees this as his opportunity to bring the bunch back together. That leaves Saw and Gaty to join because they're zigzags along with Barf Bag. Nelly and Bomby decide to stick together as well, and Price Tag and Pillow are let in after they do a silly face. Since Pillow had picked up Book and started reading her, Book also joins, and they also take in Cake and Nickel. Clock was one of the biggest loser fans last season, and in this season, he's the biggest Winner fan. Bro's like low-key obsessed with Winner. We get a lore drop where we find out that Winner and Loser actually used to be a duo, but one day, Loser hit the mainstream, and Winner faded into obscurity. And joining them are Rocky, Yellowface, Ice Cube, Cloudy, and Bottle, who leaves the Death Pactors after he tells them that they're preventing joy. Puffball forces herself onto Golf Ball's team, since she was not included in the team of balls last season. Following her is her best friend Fries, and Eraser, who comes for the free food, and Pen, who does not want to miss the chance on being on a team with his best friend. The remaining Death Pactors take in Lightning, Marker, and Fanny as students. Golf Ball complains about having so many useless people, and so to solve her useless people problem, Basketball decides to leave. She teams with Grassy, Robot Flower, Foldy, Eggy, and Belle, while TV is recruited by Golf Ball onto her team, which leaves Basketball with Snowball. All the 24 failed debuters become residents of the hotel. Now time for team names. These guys decide to go with Death Pack again. While over here, Clock suggests the Winners. But Winner is kind of uncomfortable, so he asks for his name to be taken out of the team name, which leaves the S. Snowball names his team the strongest team on Earth. When Golf Ball worries about accidentally naming her team something that she doesn't want, Tennis Ball asks her if she's okay. Everyone here starts agreeing about how they're not going to pick a dumb team name. And that's when Nelly agrees and says they're just not. And that leaves this team. They start arguing about what they want their team name to be. Because Coiny wants to be the bunch. I mean, of course. But Gaty wants to be the zigzags. And that's when Saw's like, guys, everyone, calm down. We shouldn't be fighting because we're teammates. And there we go. Those are our 7 teams this season.
Now that that's taken care of, we can finally start the battle for the power of 2!
The first challenge is to make it to the top of the hotel. Last team there loses, and that ends up being DPA. We're jumping to 2022 with episode 2. And the person eliminated with the least save votes is Pie. So she's going down here in the Teapot elimination area. Before we start the challenge though, we see Firey and Teardrop come. Firey tells 2 that Teardrop wants to join the game. and 2 says yes for some reason. I mean, when all these guys wanted to join a game, they had to go through a whole voting system, but Teardrop just gets to join. If she joined DPA though, that would be unfair because their punishment for losing last episode was to lose a member. And if she joined another team, then that'd also be unfair because they'd have an unfair advantage. So Teardrop joins her own team. And Profiling goes back to the Pillory Ruins. Episode 2's contest is to stack the highest tower with blocks. And the team that loses is the strongest team on Earth. And a notable thing that happens this episode is Gaty becoming friends with 2. We are jumping again to a new year with TPOT 3. Person eliminated this time is Foldy. 2 reveals to us that they have been working on an amusement park called the Atusement Park, which is why these episodes have been taking place years apart. Unfortunately though, even though they've spent 2 years on this, 2's Atusement Parks has no rides, so the contest is to make attractions. By the end of this, the S and Team 8 tie for the lowest score. But that's when 2 decides to make them both UFE since the competition has been taking so long to progress. So from here on out, we're gonna have double eliminations. Today is a very sad day for all 8 of us Saw fans because she is eliminated. And on the S, Cloudy is eliminated. Also done dirty, just like his friend Balloony, who has been somewhere in space for the last 2 years. Today's challenge is to protect a funny plant. UFE are Just Not and DPA. Eliminated on Just Not is Naily, and leaving on DPA is Remote. The challenge is to retrieve 2's plates that he dropped in the Goiki Canal. Up for elimination are You Okay and the strongest team on Earth again. So I had to make room on the board, so I pushed the teams down this way because I needed this spot empty. Reason being, because we have some people coming back to the grasslands. David and Dora! Oh no, that's clearly 4NX. These guys now run 4NX's kitchen, located inside the hotel. Getting sent to the Teapot elimination area this episode is Eggy and Fries. Since 4NX's delicious food is only allowed for the hotel inhabitants, 2 makes the challenge to make them food. The S and DPA make the worst meals. So, starting off, on DPA, Lightning is the one who is eliminated. But he has a fit of rage because his team always focuses on just preventing death, and that's why they lose every challenge. Lightning makes a phenomenal point, which is that if they just focus on preventing death every episode, then they're just going to be eliminated one by one, and then there's going to be no one left to prevent death. So Lightning just explodes with anger, and Lightning hits the 7 Wonders of Goiki. On the S, Clock is the one who is eliminated, but he has not resolved his dilemma with Winner, the whole storyline of him making Winner uncomfortable, and 2 knows this. 2 wants to help Clock before sending him into the elimination area, so 2 allows Clock to work with 4 and X as a kitchen helper. And on DPA, after losing like one of her best friends, Lightning, Fanny starts to push for death because Fanny hates the pact. The challenge was to fix up one of the 7 Wonders of Goiki, and the S and Just Not are up for elimination for doing the worst. Just Not fails at repairing a roller coaster, and the S don't even fix the crack that Lightning made in the moon. Wait, one's in the moon. Eliminated on Just Not is Cake, and eliminated on the S is Rocky. But funnily enough, Just Not actually decides to celebrate about Rocky's elimination, since they see it as a good thing, since the last time Rocky was eliminated was in BFDIA, which was so long ago. A long time timeline-wise though, but not IRL, because IRL this episode aired back to back with the episode in BFDIA that Rocky was eliminated in. During this episode's challenge, which is a repeat of the very first challenge of BFDI, which is to stay on the balance beam the longest, we see a glimpse of Leafy and Firey when Pin is thrown around the world. And we see them not on a boat in the ocean anymore, but on a new island. Teammates, UFE, and Are You Okay? Starting off on Are You Okay, the person eliminated is Puffball, surprisingly. You know what? I'm happy for her though. She can join her best friend in the teapot elimination area. And following up on this team is the main character of BFDIA, Coiny. Y'all, how did we let this happen? Today's challenge is a crazy one though, because there's a zombie apocalypse happening in Gaty. And the challenge is to basically not die. Pillow mistakenly hears the challenge wrong though, and thinks the challenge is to kill all of her teammates. Golf Ball and Tennis Ball are eventually able to figure out an antidote to the zombie outbreak. And that is when Barf Bag's barf is mixed with Teardrop. Once ingested by the zombies, this antidote will turn them back to normal. Although they need all of Teardrop to make this antidote. But if she sacrifices herself to do this, she is automatically eliminated. Teardrop recognizes the severity in this though, and sacrifices herself and her spot in the game to stop the zombie outbreak, meaning that she is the next one eliminated. But as for the two teams up for elimination this episode, well, one of them was Team Teardrop with an automatic elimination, meaning that the viewers will only be voting on one team, being Just Not. Since Pillow killed these three, and Bomby took Pillow out on his own terms, exploding both of them. Oh my goodness, guys. I cannot believe that we are here. Oh my goodness. We are finally having a change in the board. A change that has been here since the beginning of the video. And that is right over here. One breaks out of the moon. Uh-oh. Look out for one is now free. We're gonna put her up here since she spends the next couple of episodes like in the background watching what's going on. And 2024 puts us one step closer. Eliminated from Just Not is not Pillow, as a lot of people were hoping, and instead Nickel. Bro, crap, I wanted my 5 Nickel plushies! In this episode's challenge, each team will be put in one of their team members' dream. Well, not a dream, it's a nightmare. And the challenge is to escape the nightmare, or wake their team member up. Now, quick note about this trio over here. 4 and X have now actually become best friends with Clock, which is really funny to think about, because if you remember back in BFB, 4 literally killed Clock and then refused to recover him for over a year. But so trying to help his friend Clock make up with Winner, 4 puts Clock into Winner's nightmare. In this nightmare, we learn that Winner was left by Loser. They were a duo as we learned, but Loser let the fame get to his head and just abandoned their friend. Clock and Winner finally make up. Clock tells Winner that all he was trying to do was to make sure that Winner was not forgotten. How he was by his team in BFB when they couldn't remember who he was, and he was dead for over a year. But so yeah, they make up, and Clock is sent to the elimination area. And 4 and X are not happy about this because Clock was their friend. Up for elimination ends up being Just Not again and the strongest team on Earth. So episode 11 is not actually a competition episode, and instead we focus on the Exiters. This is the episode that shows us that they've been doing the same activity for 4 years. These guys looking for an escape in the classroom, these guys in the forest, these 3 in the waterfall, trying to get to the castle. Which they do make it to, but they don't interact with 3. They don't see 3 or anything. An interesting thing to note though is that one of the doors in the classrooms opens up into the equation playground, and we see 6 for a brief moment in the other side of this door. Eventually, Pencil uses the school's intercom system to reach the other people in 4 and tells them that they should just make a stack to get out of 4 because that's what probably will work since it works last time, for Loser. And by the very end, all the groups reunite. Even Roboty is able to help in the escape from 4 by crushing 4 and making him immobile for a second. Which, by the way, poor Roboty, he was interrogated by 4 for 4 years, tied up in the exit. My goodness, poor dude. But so, by the very end of this, they're able to make their tower. They stack up and are able to escape from 4. But this is when 4 is about to send them back inside of him, but 2 steps in to stop him. Instead, 2 suggests that they all help out in 4 and X's kitchen. But from here, these guys are all able to see another competition going on, and they all want to be a part of it. So they start banging on the windows, trying to break them, so that way they can escape the kitchen. And I actually made a whole show based on this concept called TPOT Weekly, where I released episodes weekly, where the exiters were stuck in the kitchen and the winner would be able to leave the kitchen. So it takes place in like an alternate BFDI universe where they never escape the kitchen. If that interests you, y'all should check that out. At the very end of the episode, we actually see that Purple Face made his way from the Pillory Ruins back to Gaty. He does this with the intentions of trying to save the exiters from 4, but he's a little too late. So he jumps into 4's mouth, hoping to find the exiters in there, but he doesn't. He's all alone. Well, not exactly, but he doesn't know that. So while 1 has been in the background, she's learned a lot of stuff. She's learned about a lot of the characters, who's friends with who, what is even going on. She's learned about 4 and the dimension inside of him, and just about everything you could think of, because she's starting to enact a plan for revenge and a plan to recover 3 correctly. So she learns to create a dimension in herself. So that's a new location that we're going to be putting on to the board. And this episode commences with the cake at stake. The people eliminated end up being Belle and Bomby on Just Not. But before 2 is able to send them to the elimination area, they just disappear because it's actually 1 who took them. 1 brings them here to get them to sign a contract, and this contract will allow her to just straight up erase them from existence if she wants. They obviously don't know this though, and to get them to sign this paper, she threatens them by putting them in a space of complete darkness. But point is, she is able to get them to sign and then puts both of them in the field, which is a location in her dimension. It's just like a field, a dark field with yellow flowers. Now everyone's a little worried. They're wondering where Belle and Bomby went. But to get them a little less worried, 2 announces a new stage in the game. The Team Swap. So are you okay? Death Pact again. VS, Just Not, the strongest team on Earth, and Team 8 are no longer teams. 2 now tells them to form new teams and just for someone to speak up whenever they're done. Now this is actually where 1 comes in. She mixes up the characters and makes her own like teams. So this time the characters don't choose the teams, instead in a way they're randomized, but 1 like picks these teams. Like she picks them for a reason. So 1 mixes these guys into these groupings, and Pen's like, wait, where's Eraser? And then 2, whose eyes were closed, open their eyes since they heard noise, and these teams are locked in as the new teams. The Death Pactors plus Pen and Gaty go with Death Pact yet again. TV picks Bagged for this team, and then 2 basically names the last 2 teams. He names these guys Team 2, and since Golf Ball insists that she cannot pick the team name, 2 picks Cloudy, and Yellowface screams yay, so they are Cloud Yay. In this episode, each team has a giant pit that they have to fill up, and the 2 teams with the least amount of stuff are going to be UFE. Throughout this episode, 1 gets 2 more people to sign deals, that being Fanny and Ice Cube. And the 2 teams UFE end up being Bagged and Cloud Yay. At the end of the episode though, Basketball is kidnapped by 1. And not only that, but the Exiters break out of the kitchen and demand to be allowed into 2's show. So 2 allows a voting for one of the Exiters to join the show. Oh, and Robot Flower. Robot Flower was not put on a team originally, but she ended up joining the team of the winners of the challenge, which ended up being Death Pact. So they now have the robotic menace killing machine on their team. So at the start of episode 13, we see this thunderstorm created by one start to affect all the characters all around Earth. Specifically here on Junior Island, Leafy is even kidnapped by one. And when the storm blows over the next morning, Firey cannot find Leafy anywhere because Leafy is now also kidnapped by one. But this corner is getting a little too cramped for one, so we're gonna move this stuff here after we do the rejoin. So the rejoin is being held on the top of the hotel while there's a thunderstorm going on, mind you. And basically, if an Exeter does not join the show, they end up getting like picked up by the wind and they're just gonna end up somewhere random on Earth. So as we go through who does not join the show, I will be telling you where that Exeter ends up. Starting with Firey Jr., who ends up on a snowy mountain and finds paradise in a cabin. Roboty just ends up in the Teapot playing grounds. 8-Ball makes it all the way to Junior Island, but gets launched in sand. The wind takes Match all the way to the Pillory Ruins. Oh! And for the status of a couple of them, we actually don't know where they end up. So we're going to be putting them here in status unknown. And those characters are Stapy, Dora, and David. And I'll also be putting Bracelety there for now. Now that leaves us with Pencil and Lie. Who's going to join? Well, actually, they both do. Because one messes with the show once again and changes from one person joining the show to two. If it wasn't for one changing the rules, then only Lie would have joined. So she was responsible for bringing Pencil into the game, which is all part of her master plan. 2 lets the debuters pick what teams they're going to be on, and Lie goes with Bagged, while Pencil goes with Cloudier. We're maxing out the room here like crazy, y'all. We have the hotel inhabitants back on the board over there, and also we moved everything going on in one's dimension in this space right here. Leafy's currently being held in like that dark place that Belle and Bomby were shown. I don't know exactly what to call that though, so I just don't have a label under her. She's just under one's dimension. And some people are about to join her because one kidnaps the eliminated contestants from this episode as well. And they end up being Needle on Bagged and Barf Bag on Cloudier. The storm that one caused is her bargaining chip this episode to try and get Basketball to sign a deal as well. She also gets Barf Bag and Needle to sign deals and then sends them to the field. The challenge is to keep 2 from waking up during the storm, with the people up for elimination being DPYA and Team 2. This episode's Cake at Stake is hosted by the failed debuters. Oh, and I forgot to mention that Pencil is trying to reconnect Free Smart being Bug and Ice Cube, but they don't really want anything to do with her. And the people end up being eliminated are Eraser and Gaty. And that's when 2 comes, and 2 is sad that Gaty got eliminated. This is why instead of sending her to the elimination area, 2 sends Gaty to 4 and X's kitchen, while Eraser is the first one sent here in a really long time. This episode's challenge is Capture the Flag. And this is where we actually see Firey Jr. because the flags are located on a volcano and on the snowy mountain. Although I feel really bad for Firey Jr. because the contestants end up destroying his cabin and Firey Jr. himself, he dies. It's so sad. Little guy found paradise just for it to be taken away from him. And we also see the return of Lewis finally in this episode after so long. We haven't seen this guy since season 2. It's unknown what happens to him though, because he ends up falling down the volcano, possibly to his death, but we'll keep him in status unknown since we don't really know. DPA and Bagged are UFE. Y'all, we are finally in 2025, and in this episode we see the return of the Yoyolite. The Yoyolite that Tennis Ball and Nickel left in the future way back when in BFDIA 17. This Yoyolite is locked up in Golf Ball's factory, but one, with her powers, helps guide some of the failed debuters to it. And they use the yo-yo light to go back in time. Now this starts to cause like changes in the timeline, and only Black Hole is able to remember the old timeline. None of the contestants are. But to help create more chaos, one gives all the contestants the ability to know what is going on. But the changes in the timeline include like marker turning green, or the host constantly changing. That isn't the only thing one is up to though, because she kidnaps Gaty. And she is not planning to put an end to this chaos unless Gaty signs one of her contracts. It's time for Kick at Skate though, hosted by 9, who takes the place as host, but then many other people switch in between hosts, so I'm not even gonna bother playing with that. Eliminated is Robot Flower on DPYA and Basketball on Bags. The challenge is to go back into the past and bring back the failed debuters to the present. The teams go about this in different ways though. Cloudier, for example, go back in time, they get the failed debuters, but they don't fix what was changed in the past, which causes this like crack to form in the sky due to all the timeline changes. Deathpack yet again though, they realize the severity of what is going on, and instead of focusing on the challenge, they try to focus on fixing the past, and that includes fixing the past that like Cloudier, for example, didn't bother to fix. Golfball gets onto her team since they have not been fixing the past, but then Pencil snaps back and says that she does not care about that. What she cares about is getting immunity because she does not want to be trapped somewhere for years again. I mean, she was just trapped in a classroom for 6 years. She does not want to go back. And this is where she realizes she literally has the yo-yo light in her vicinity. Maybe she can change her past so she doesn't have to end up there again. Cloudier ends up back in BFDI 25, right when Firey did not let Leafy into Dream Island. But this is where Pencil and Pillow start to fight, and Firey opens the Dream Island gates and is like, what is going on? Firey's like, Leafy, just come in here, just come in Dream Island. And that's when they're like, oh crap, what just happened? Because if Leafy was let into Dream Island, that means that there was no BFDIA and no everything else, so the timeline just starts to break. So going from BFDI back to present time, the crack in the sky starts to get bigger, and everyone just starts to realize that this is it. This is where Gaty finally decides to sign the contract, and one fixes everything. Well, not everything, because there's still a crack in the sky, and Black Hole decides to focus his attention on it. Black Hole is no longer really focused on the game, but instead trying to keep the crack in the sky like at bay and not let it get worse. The teams that are UFE end up being DPYA and Team 2. But now that one got Gaty to sign the deal that lets her erase people from existence, one erases Gaty from existence. And so Gaty is now non-existent, and this leaves 2 distraught enough that 2 is not fit to host anymore. So 4NX sub in. At the end of the episode, Firey finds 8-Ball in the sand on Dreamier Island. And something crazy happens over here in one's field. So there is a door in one's field. Similar how, if you remember, we talked about how Pencil, David, and Bracelety went inside of 4 in the classrooms. They opened a door that led to the equation playground, and they saw 6 for a split second. So the door in one's field also opens up to the equation playground. And that's where we see these guys go. So now these 4 in the equation playground, which is on the algebralian planet. Oh my goodness, everything is coming full circle from the beginning of the video. This is insane! Now, episode 16 is a lot tamer. We'll start off with the elimination. It ends up being Ice Cube on Team 2 and Pin on Deathpack yet again. The challenge is hide and seek, and the team that has the most people tagged by 4 will be up for elimination, and then same thing goes with the team with the most people tagged by X. But crazy thing is that Cloudier has the most people tagged by 4 and has the most people tagged by X, meaning that they're the only team up for elimination, and they will be losing 2 members next episode. Before the contents of next episode, we know that one tries to get Leafy to sign a deal, but Leafy puts up like a fight. but not like a physical one, more like a verbal one, telling one that she's not a good person. Eventually, one just gets sick of hearing Leafy talk and just sends Leafy out of her dimension. And Leafy is going to end up at Roboty's waterfall. Now it's time for episode 17, and even though she's a contestant, Bottle is hosting this time. She does Cake at Stake, and the two people who leave are Pillow and Yellowface. In the challenge, there are 4 amusement park attractions, and one member of each team will participate in each attraction. The whole point is to get points for your team, and the 2 teams with the most points are safe, while the 2 teams with the least amount of points are UFE. During all this, Donut is kidnapped by One and brought into One's dimensions, and she tries to get Donut to sign a deal, but Donut stands by his principles, and out of anger, One rips off all of his limbs and sends him back to Earth. I didn't mention this, but Yellowface stole limbs this season, and when he was eliminated, he left them, so Donut ended up getting those back. So Donut was able to stand up to One and still come out on top at the end. And crazy thing about this group here is that they're able to meet up with a new algebralian. They find 6 hiding in the equation playground. They ask 6 about One, and 6 is like, what? Y'all have met One? And obviously this is a surprise because 6 thinks that One is supposed to be in the moon, but One broke out, and now 6 is frightened. So 6 tells these 4 about how he saw 4's door open up in the equation playground. So they start running to 4's door. And luckily, we know someone who's in 4. Episode 18 is titled BFB 31, because in this episode, we get to see what the Post Splitters have been up to. When Lollipop's Yellowface Silver Standard Gold credit card goes missing, she calls up 4. That is not 4. 4 to help find the thief. So they all go to the abandoned TV studio, and they do this whole thing where they go into each other's memories, but a lot of it really isn't important. Loser is able to use one of the devices that they use to travel through the mines in this episode, and is able to watch Winner's journey throughout TPOT. This motivates Loser to want to go see his old friend again. So Loser embarks on a journey. And by the end of the episode, 4 is starting to put the pieces together about who's been up to all this nefarious stuff going on. So, by the start of TPOT 19, X is now in the abandoned TV studio with the other Post Splitters. While the rift in the sky, the rift from the timeline changes, it's starting to get really bad. It's starting to affect things on Earth. So 4 takes 2's power and divides it among the 17 remaining contestants to help combat, fight and hold off the rift. So now all these guys have a share of 2's power, which is crazy to think about, but they're kind of making a barrier around the hotel so that way the rift doesn't change anything else. But a strike from the rift ends up reflecting off of the power and into the sky, and the whole sky goes black. We end up seeing Roboty at the waterfall, and Bracelety there as well. And we see that Firey and 8-Ball are no longer on Dreamier Island, but on a boat in the ocean. So now everyone's in the hotel, and Grassy, Marker, and Bottle, who I like to see as the kids, they're kind of scared with everything going on. So Tree suggests a distraction. And TV steps up as host to host Cake at Stake. First up on Team 2, and unfortunately, Snowball is eliminated. This really saddens Grassy as they became best friends. So Snowball is sent to the elimination area, still with a share of 2's power. And as for Bagged, TV is actually the one eliminated. But when no one cares, TV realizes that, people just don't care about mechanical minds. So as host, TV makes the challenge a battle royale. While the challenge goes on, we finally get to see the Equation Playground group meet up with Purpleface. Purpleface opens the door in 4 that leads towards the Equation Playground, and they all go through it. So now this group of people is in 4's dimension. We also see Donut get kidnapped by One during the challenge, because One still wants Donut to sign that contract. And to show him that she's not messing around, she starts erasing some of his friends from existence. Those being Barf Bag and Basketball. And now it's time to get into who's dead. First starting off with TV, who is killed by Pencil. And also the failed debuters who are killed by Lie. So this whole top right corner is just dead. Except for Tape, actually. Because Tape was actually left taped inside of Gelatin's burnt steakhouse back from when the failed debuters hosted the Cake at Steak in TPOT 14. Donut eventually gives in and signs the contract, and One captures Black Hole because she is sick of having to deal with them. All of these contestants end up dying in the episode, mostly all being killed by Pencil. She does decide to spare Grassy though because she feels bad for him. And Winner is recovered by Price Tag via the Wireless Recovery Center. Now Pencil, having almost all of the power of 2, decides to get her revenge on 4. She confronts him on the top of the hotel, strips him of his power, and gives him what she believes he rightfully deserves. Ends it all off by knocking him off the hotel, right into One's arms. And One, being someone else who was also trapped by 4 for years, decides 4's punishment. She puts 4 in the same place that he put her. 4 is now trapped in the moon. Now One tries to relate to Pencil. This was her plan all along. She put Pencil on a team with people she would disagree with. She made sure Pencil got in the game, all to get to this point. She tells Pencil she can give her everything that she wants. She can give her a fresh start. That's what Pencil wants in exchange for 2 and 4's power. As we saw from episode 15, Pencil would die for the chance to try again and fix her mistakes. So, she agrees. She gives 1, 4, and 2's power, and 1 keeps her end of the bargain and sends Pencil back in time. At the end of episode 19, Loser finally made his way back to the grasslands and is able to reunite with Winner, and they embrace after a long time of not seeing each other. Now, episode 20 was mostly a flashback episode, but we did get some stuff. It seems like One wants to get revenge on not just 4, but all of the numbers, because we don't know exactly what happened to 9, but it looks like 1 might have possibly killed her. This is not known for sure though, so I'm going to put her in status unknown until in a future episode we can see what exactly happened to 9. But so, now that there's room here, we can put 1 in the somewhere in space section. Because right now, yeah, it seems like 1 is just in space, slowly trying to find all the numbers that have wronged her. And how could I forget, at the end of TPOT 20, we see Firey Jr. come back. So he, Winner, and Loser are kind of in a trio right now. Now, before we hop into TPOT 21, I want to go over the board real quick. We have the dead characters up there, the post splitters over here, the people in Roboty's waterfall here, people in space over there, people with status unknown over here. We have the TPOT elimination area, alive TPOT characters here, the dead contestants over here, Pencil who's back in time, Black Hole who's in 1's room, the non-existent characters, and the people inside of 4, including the characters that are in the classroom, and 3. Not to forget, we have Jack Fruit over there, and the Elsewhere characters up there. Now it's time for TPOT 21. At the start of the episode, we see 2 step up once again as host, although they don't have any power. So it takes them a couple months to get out of bed. Through the following montage spanning a couple months after the events of TPOT 19, we get to see how the world is. The BFDI world is now a black, weird, alien-type world with all of the changes that the rift caused to it. For example, when trying to recover Lai, Grassy puts her body in this black goo that's outside of the hotel, and it's able to revive her, and then she ends up dead again. But still, that's an example of the weird circumstances that the world is now in. There's also a whole lot of like weird bug alien creatures too. The point is, the BFDI world is in complete chaos. But that doesn't stop two from doing the cake at stake. The people eliminated are Tree and Bottle. Since they're no longer dead contestants, we're gonna move them over here to the regular dead section. Grassy does successfully revive Lai again though, with that pile of black mush. But of course, if we gain a character, we gotta lose one. And this time we lose the GOAT, the man, the myth, the legend, Tape. Now, before we get to the challenge, I want to talk about Firey and 8-Ball, who get sent all the way from the ocean, all the way to Bandland, which is pretty close to the hotel, due to the events that happened in TPOT 19 of one stretching and squashing and kicking the earth. And crazily enough, they run into two exiters here, that being David and Dora. They've been in Bandland this whole time, ever since TPOT 13, when they were launched away by the storm. They've been in Bandland. And they're not the only exiters that we get an update on, because we also finally know what happened to Stapy. We get to see this during the events of TPOT 22, but we know that it took place after TPOT 13, so since we went over them, I'm just going to go over what happened to Stapy. Turns out, after the events of the storm, he was sent all the way to the TPOT elimination area. And lastly, an update that we get about the characters that are inside of 4, 6 leads the charge to try to find 3, since they know that 3 is inside of 4. So their new mission is to find 3 inside the castle. Okay, let's get to the challenge now. Even though most of their contestants are dead and the world is in complete shambles, 2 decides to host a contest, which is to help them get outside of their hotel room. The old teams are disbanded and new ones are formed, that being Team Alive and Team Dead. We're still going to leave Loser and Firey Jr. here, since they still play a role in the episode, that of being side characters to the Alive contestants. Oh, and there's more that are on Team Alive. Price tag gets recovered through the weird black goo, and they recover golf ball, tennis ball, marker, and book through the wireless recovery center. So obviously, while it looks like Team Alive really outnumbers Team Dead, this is not exactly all the characters that are on Team Dead. Because even though they're not actually dead, for some reason characters like Black Hole and Pencil, who are still competitors but are just not actively competing in challenges, are considered part of Team Dead. I'm going to move them under the Team Dead symbol though, that way we can still tell that they're contestants. And anyways, as for the challenge, like I said, it's to free 2 from their room, and as Golf Ball is opening the door to the room, one of the creatures, like the spiders, kills Golf Ball while she's opening the door, so she opens the door as a member of Team Dead, meaning that Team Dead wins the challenge, and Team Alive is up for elimination. And that's TPOT 21 for you. TPOT 22 is a non-competition episode focusing on the eliminated contestants. This is the episode that told us that Stapy ended up with the eliminated contestants. And actually, not just Stapy, but also Fanny. Turns out that she wasn't actually dead last episode. She was alive, and that's why she actually wasn't able to be recovered in that episode. She's alive with the eliminated contestants. And when basketball disappears, the eliminated contestants are frantically trying to recover anyone. And that's how Fanny ends up here. And if you thought that those two things were crazy, well, we actually have an even bigger reveal, which is that we know what the Teapot elimination area is. Turns out these guys are in Yoyle City, what? But somehow the gravity is flipped upside down. Through Snowball's small bit of power though, he's able to make gravity go back to normal. Not for long though, because as they wander through Yoyle City, they make it to Yoyle Mountain. And it seems like if you go inside of the mountain, if you jump in, that's what flips the gravity around. And well, everyone falls into the Yoyle Mountain. So they fall in, they end up shooting up out through another mountain, which is near the hotel. But due to the gravity then being flipped back again, they all end up flying into what appears to be the sky. But luckily, since Puffball can fly, she says that she's gonna go get some help and starts flying towards the hotel. Okay, baby, I can see how this is all coming together. But you know what? We're actually going to put their status as status unknown for now, since we don't exactly know where they ended up. Kind of like how I have 9 here, but we don't know exactly what happened to them, even though it might have looked like they died by 1. They're still going to be here anyways until we get full confirmation of where they are. And one more thing, at the end of this episode, actually, we see the free smarters that are in the abandoned TV studio set out to look for Pencil. But X actually joins them to help them look for 4 and Pencil. So X uses their teleporting powers to get them from the abandoned TV studio to what appears to be to the hotel area. But what about all the rest of the post-splitters? I have no idea, because it seems like X only took these 3 towards the grasslands. But I do think that within a matter of time, we're going to see all the characters meet up once again. We can see glimpses of this, like with these guys trying to escape Bandland, which is near the hotel. These guys near Roboty's waterfall. All they have to do is step in Roboty and then step out, and well, they're right here. We got all these guys in the grasslands around the hotel. Puffball going specifically for their help to get a hold of all the eliminated contestants. I mean, all we need is the people from the abandoned TV studio to also make their way here somehow. Maybe X can go back and teleport them back, and then we need Balloony obviously to come back from somewhere in space, because Bro has been there for like the last 5 years. Then that leaves obviously these 3 to be recovered, and non-existent people and the people inside of 4 to all come together to try and take down 1. Because what we do know is TPOT 23 to 25 is going to be a 3-episode special that is going to come out throughout the summer of 2026, where we are going to see the contestants try and defeat 1. I don't know about y'all, but I am hyped for that. And I'm definitely going to make updates to the BFDI bulletin board when those new episodes drop. So stay tuned for that. If you guys enjoyed, then please consider subscribing, because as you could imagine, this took a long time to make. Let's actually appreciate the board. Oh my goodness. This thing is beautiful. I cannot believe we made it to this point. This is so cool, just looking at the board and seeing where everyone is. Seeing the characters that are up for elimination at the hotel. Pencil, who's back in time, but also a part of Team Dead. Black Hole, who's not just inside of one's room, but is inside of one's dimension. The non-existent characters. We got the characters inside of 4's dimension, the people in the classroom, and 3, who is in the castle. Like I mentioned before, we have the characters in the grasslands near the hotel. The characters with status unknown, which we will hopefully find out where exactly these characters ended up, if they actually just ended up in the sky. Maybe they end up somewhere in space and they run into Balloony and Announcer. That would be absolutely insane. And of course, we gotta see the return of 4 soon. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe that we did it. Oh, and how could I forget about the Elsewheres? But to conclude, please consider subscribing to help me get to 40K. And if you enjoyed, then please give this video a like. I'll see you guys for the BFDIA 25 bulletin board video update.
See you, contestants.